Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. I hope everybody's had an awesome night. As you can see, my guests on the panel are Native Voice and Susanna, better known as Rhyme of the Ancients. Uh, Tonight, obviously, you guys from reading the thumbnail, you guys know that our topic of discussion tonight is some off the wall stuff. We just wanted to have some fun and just kind of completely change the topic from prepping and doom and gloom and economy and supply chains and politics. We're just going to talk about time travel because if you
Yeah.
think about it, time travel that's like the ultimate prep. I mean, if you could figure it out, that would be like the ultimate prep. That'd be yeah, and that's a picture of my hypothetical bug out vehicle on the thumbnail. So let's see
The
who all we got
DeLorean.
here. Yeah, man, that's my bug out vehicle.
Like,
Let's see, Auslander info. What's going on, Tiger? In
oh,
between
Slander.
prep and hello, Nikki, Georgia Peach, Sherry Leach, Hoot, Ohio Prepper,
Georgia. Gene.
Anna Marie Kimball,
Bulldog. Damn.
Gene W,
Tiger.
Bulldog in the house,
What's up, Bulldog?
Tammy C. Hi y'all, dinner done early. I'm gonna get to stick around for this one. Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got about 20 people in here right now. We can horse around and we can talk about our week a little bit and let the room populate up because, we don't want to miss too many people. But so what did you guys get accomplished this week? How about you, Native?
Man, nothing. Ain't doing nothing. uh, I've been winterizing the homestead here, getting plastic on all the greenhouses. I still got to do the longhouse. It's the most aggravating to do, but man, my chickens have been roosting on the empty frame of the igloo greenhouse all summer. I didn't think anything of it, and now that I've put the plastic on it, they still go up there, and they started pooping on the roof of my freaking greenhouse. So every night I have to go out there and spray them with the hose, but then I feel bad because they're wet and it gets cold as hell at night. If anyone has any ideas or suggestions how to get my chickens to go back into their coop and roost at night instead of roosting on top of my greenhouse, I'm all ears.
Yeah. How about you, Susanna?
Me, mostly I've been concentrating on getting better. Um, I've been out a lot at the hospital all week, so um, yeah, I'm just concentrating on that. Other than that, really, not a whole lot. I couldn't really do anything much other than that, but I'm still alive.
Well, that's
Hello,
good.
everyone in
Glad to
chat.
hear it.
And so everybody in chat, just so you understand what's going on, that picture on the screen, that is actually Susanna from the 80s. She already traveled back in time. She's actually doing this show from 1986. So she figured
Dang,
it
man,
out.
I miss the 80s. How's the 80s? How's it smell there?
I know,
So
right?
different, so different than it does today.
Does it smell like Punky
Yeah.
Brewster?
The 80s. Let's see. That was some fun in the 80s. There was some good shows like what Knight Rider. Oh yeah, Knight Rider, the A Team,
Oh, yes.
the A Team. Yeah, that's some good TV shows.
Hmm.
Like the A Team. I think in their 3 or 4 year run they were on TV. I think they fired like 70,000 rounds and never hit anybody.
Oh,
Like
geez.
Right?
never hit anybody. Everything blew up. Nobody ever got shot. Nobody ever got burnt. That was an awesome track record there. But
Right?
yeah, TV ain't like that no more. But
Mm.
all right,
No.
all right. So for you guys in the chat, what we're gonna do tonight is we're just gonna have some fun, and obviously the topic is time travel. So what we decided to do, since there's so much information and so many different directions that you can go with time travel, is we're going to start with Susanna, and she's going to give us a rundown of what she thinks about it, what her favorite aspect is of it, experiences with different shows or movies, or like aha moments when you thought, man, maybe this really is something that is feasible, or maybe you figured out that it's all crap. So it's basically just your personal views on it and any kind of information you want to throw out there. Then we'll shift over to Native. He'll do the same thing. Then I'll do the same thing. And then we'll just have some fun and field some questions and just get crazy hypothetical. How's that sound,
Okay.
you guys? Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Amazing. Can't wait.
All right, Susanna, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, to start off with, I've been interested in time travel for a really long time, and probably the late 80s, I guess. And you're right, there is so much that comes with that. There's different types of time travel, um, whether it's spiritual or physical, the way that you would get there in theory, or whether, you know, I myself don't know exactly what is true and what isn't. I know there are things that very strange that have happened to me. Um, I first got into that. A lot of it had to do with the movies and books and things like that. There was the Twilight Zone and the Outer Limits and Amazing Stories and Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica, Stargates, Back to the Future, Sliders, The Big Bang Theory. Do you remember the episode when they all bought the time machine? They all bid on a time machine, and they were fighting over it. And it and it was funny because it looked just like the time machine in the drawing by H.G. Wells' book. It's crazy. All the movies and books and things like that. And I mean, even Harry Potter. A lot of
Hmm.
people watch Harry Potter today, and Harry Potter is another one where they are able to manipulate time. Um, there's a lot of figure. I mean, even there's even a book out about. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It was called
The Time Traveler's Wife.
no. It was about. Oh, okay. I think I remember it. It was about Baron Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey. And there's actually two. You can buy it. I looked it up, and you can buy it either in one book, or there's actually two books that were written by Ingersoll Lockwood. Is the one that wrote those books, and it was in the 1800s. I think late 1800s when he wrote that. And so that it's a lot of that stuff interests me. I know there's a lot of stuff to get out here. I don't know if you want me to just say a little more. um, there's yeah, so there's that. I mean, there's so many things. There was the Montauk Project, and I think a lot of anybody who one of the most famous people from that was Al Bielek. And he had his own stories. A lot
Right.
of people theorize that the UFO Kecksburg incident had to do with the Nazi bell, and some even say that it's even more um, closer to the Vimanas of India.
And that was a really interesting topic, the Nazi bell. I mean, if you guys haven't looked that up on YouTube or on the internet, it's pretty cool.
I'm
The,
not familiar. What is it?
the Nazi bell. It was a supposedly, correct me if I'm wrong, Susanna, but it was supposedly a reverse engineered man-made UFO that the Nazis made during World War II.
Oh,
That
shit.
was supposedly sighted, and it used, I believe it was electromagnetic reverse polarity type stuff to defeat gravity and hover and levitate and all that good stuff. But it looked like a bell. That's why they call it the Nazi bell.
Okay.
But
Right, and
Interesting.
it disappeared, and so did a lot of the scientists. Not all of them did, but a lot of them supposedly disappeared, and they aren't sure what happened to it or where it went. Um, but you know, they were into a lot of things, so
yeah,
maybe it was based on the Vimanas of India.
yeah, and
I
you
don't
see that
know.
And see, we know there's proof in the basis of what you're talking about, because the technical drawings and the specs and the blueprints were actually found, after the war. So that, it wasn't like somebody didn't just make it up and tell a story. There's like actual documentation of the build.
Right. And so Native, yeah, the Kecksburg UFO incident um, was said to have been shaped as a bell as well, and have, different properties to it that different people experienced. And, a lot of people can go look that up, and because there's a lot, with that as well.
Yeah.
Right. That's very
And then,
interesting because the whole thing with time travel is that we haven't yet figured out how to unify gravity with the other fundamental forces of the universe, and that's why we can't travel through time yet. Because gravity seems so weak, but it should be equal with the other forces, the strong and the weak nuclear force and electromagnetic force. And I think we just don't understand gravity, like how exactly it moves through the fabric of the universe. And
Well,
I mean, it's not my turn yet, and I'll get more into that when it's my turn. But
you're right. I mean,
that's
people are
what
lazy.
yeah.
They think gravity just revolves around some old guy getting hit in the head with an apple. Okay, that's gravity. Let's move on.
Right.
It's a
Like he
lot more to
discovered
it
it.
than
He
that.
invented it. Newton invented it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and then you have people, like Tesla, and then that ties into the Trumps as well, and because who worked for Tesla at one time, or with Tesla? It was John Trump's uncle,
Mhm.
right? Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump.
Yep.
So, there are a lot of things, concerning time travel just sort of fascinated me. There's a lot more, but you um want to give you guys a chance to get in there and talk too.
Okay. All right. Well, Native, go ahead and let's hear your spiel
All
on
right.
time travel.
Before I start, I just want to say, Ghetto, if you're from the future, and the future's bleak, man. I'm just saying.
For real.
Just want to put
End
that
it
out
now.
there.
I'm fixing to go start a shotgun. I'm fixing to go count mufflers.
What's up, Ghetto? Anyway, okay, so time travel. So my first fascination with time travel started when I was a kid, of course, watching Back to the Freaking Future. One of my all-time favorite trilogies. Even though a lot of the aspects of time travel they cover now, to me now that I've studied it more, the scientific aspects are way false. There's a lot of paradoxes about time travel that kind of counter it and make it not possible, like the grandfather paradox. Um, if you went back in time and killed your grandfather, you wouldn't exist. So how could you go back in time and kill your grandfather? But I look at time travel as something that is possible. It's just like I was saying with the force of gravity. We don't understand how gravity really works or why it seems so weak. And I think it has to do with the actual fabric of what the universe is made of. I think we don't understand that yet. But there was a Harvard professor who's been doing experiments for like the last 10 years. And what he's been doing is taking high powered lasers and putting them in like a square array on something that rotates real fast. And when you do that, these high powered lasers, it distorts the fabric of space time for a little bit. And they've literally been sending these tiny little like particles, like the size of like a proton, back in time for a few seconds, which is very interesting. You guys should look up their research. It's very interesting what they're doing. But to do it on a large scale, we don't have the capability. We don't have the power to make lasers fast enough. The other thing that's going back in time. They can only send things back in time. Our astronauts, when they go into space, and this goes to relativity and what Einstein's theories on time travel were. And his theory is that if you did travel the speed of light or whatever, or even close to it, that by the time you got there, you would be young, but everyone else would be dead and gone or 100 years old or whatever. And our astronauts, when they go into space and they're traveling like close to 10,000 miles per hour, they actually are a couple of seconds in the future. Like they've taken the atomic clocks and synced them on Earth and put one on the spaceship. when by the time they're in space, theirs is 2 seconds ahead, which I think is pretty freaking fascinating, man. That it's something that kind of proves on that, you know. But, and I'm gonna get a little bit spiritual here. When it comes to time, time is something that we all exist in, like all of creation, and I believe that like God, the Creator, it actually exists outside of time, and eternity is something that exists outside of time, and that's why prophecy works, because God sees all time at once, and that's why these prophecies always come true. And I mean, these are my personal beliefs, my personal opinions, guys. Don't get bad shape. But anyway, anyway, I also believe that there is something called solidified time. Like once something happens, it's always going to happen, and there's nothing you can do to change that solidified time because it was always meant to be. It's part of the fabric of space time. You can't go back and change it, and all these different things. But I think time travel is possible. I think this all goes back down to gravity. We just don't understand how it works. And when you were talking about the spaceship, and even recently, all the information that's been coming out about the UFOs that have been sighted and everything, and the way that they travel, it looks as though they control gravity, which is very fascinating to me. And I wish we had more information on it. But I mean, that's just kind of my opening spiel. If you guys want to get into some discussion on some topics, hey, chat, what's your favorite time travel show or time travel movie?
Ooh, that's a good one. I know I like a couple actually, but I would say The Time Machine is really good. I love that one. That was really detailed. No I'll tell you one that had a really good mix to it. It was completely different than any other kind of time show, and it wasn't really a time machine show, but it was that movie that Scarlett Johansson did. Eve, was it Eve?
Lucy.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
Especially the way they tied it in at the very end. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
That was awesome. That was a good one. It got bad reviews, man, but I liked it.
Yeah, it did get bad reviews, but I thought it was an awesome movie. But there's a lot of movies that get shitty reviews that I love. I mean,
no doubt.
Absolutely love them. It's like, what was that one that Taylor Kitsch did where he was on Mars? Crap. It was a
I don't remember that one.
It was H.G. Wells. He was on Mars. Crap. It was like a 3-hour movie, man.
Yeah, it was good. The books were way better. Yeah. The book was a whole series. Yeah, I forgot. I didn't know who Taylor Kitsch was. I didn't know that was that actor.
The problem was they tried to put all that information in one movie, and it was like 3 hours long, but it still could have been. Yeah, that could have been a trilogy. It really could have been. It would have been weird.
There's so many books and movies. I literally have to like I had like this big Rolodex in my mind, like trying to sift through everything. One thing I do have to say, I have a very open mind, and I really do. I retain a lot of information about a lot of this stuff, but I don't necessarily believe everything, but I don't necessarily not believe everything either. I keep it there in the back of my mind, no matter what it is, because I love to research, and it just stays there until something big happens, or I can prove something, or just something of that nature. More information comes up.
No doubt. I mean, I was just watching the chat before throwing out Quantum Leap a lot. I never could get into Quantum. I watched it, but I don't know. I guess it was too adult for the time when I was watching it, but
right.
It wasn't so much about the time travels. It just was about the stories of where he would land.
Yeah, because they were completely different. Like every episode was completely different from the one before, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah. I like Doctor Who, man. That's my go-to TV show when it comes to time travel.
And I did like the episode in Stargate SG-1, 1969, when they travel back in time.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
What's his name had to cover up his thing with a headband? Yeah.
They picked, like, if you had to go back in time, that would be like the perfect year to go back to 1969. Plus, that was the year I was born, so that's awesome. So,
Oh shit.
And there are even other questions like when we're traveling from one time zone to the next, are we time traveling?
I mean, you could technically get like deep into it. You know, I've thought about that. I'm like, if you got up in an airplane, you're going really, really fast, and you were going against the spinning of the Earth, how, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you could technically, you know, if the space station was orbiting in the opposite direction, you know, then I mean, you could get all kinds of weird. You know, you could legit get all kinds of weird if
Yeah,
it was
man.
rotating in the opposite direction. Remember the Superman, the
Right.
original Superman when he flew in reverse and reverse time and
Yeah.
then came back.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you
Right.
could technically,
Yeah.
I mean, because you got to figure if you flying like you are literally going back in time, but like if I got on a plane on the East Coast and flew to the West Coast nonstop, you know, I'm gaining a couple of hours, you know, jet lag, whatever you want to call it. So you're
Right.
extending, you're technically, you're going back in time, but then when you go home, you jump forward and you lose those 2 or 3 hours. So you really didn't accomplish anything. And now, if you could go back in time and then turn around and go back and arrive at the point that you left, now we're talking. Now we got stuff. You know what I mean? Now you did something. You know?
Exactly.
And
Man,
there's
what
and here's
about the? Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry.
here's another one for you. If you're being regressed by someone who's authorized to regress you forward or backward in time, is that time travel?
Mm,
Hmm.
wow.
I don't know.
So the thing about time travel too that always gets me is you can't talk about it without talking about parallel existences. Because if you go back in time and change something, then you go back to the present, you've changed the past. So the present you're going back to is not the same one you left. So it creates a paradox. So do you just forget everything that happened, or are you the only one there who remembers everything? You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of aspects of time travel if we're really going to like get into it like that to
Yeah.
me. And also, if you go back in time, like if I leave the Earth right now to go back in time 10 years, the Earth's not in the same position anymore that it was 10 years ago. So if I go back in time, like you can't just go back in time, you have to go back in space too. You have to find the exact right time in space. I mean, there's a lot of physical, like the physics of it that it's so complicated. Like even if we figure out how to do it, like I don't think it'd be a long time before we could perfect something like that.
Yeah, Professor Hulk, his explanation of it in Endgame, it really confused the shit out of me. Like he just spit it out.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I felt like Ant-Man. I'm like, wait a minute, Back to the Future was bullshit. Really? You know, I had my heart broke there for a second. I'm like, what?
Oh
Yeah, it
man.
was. But it was. There were some. Even though it was like weird and the way time travel this, time travel that, and I guess I'll go ahead and do my spiel. Like obviously as a kid, you think about, you know, if I could go back and do this again, or I could go back and do that again. And then as you get older, you think, man, it'd be nice to be 21 again. I'd do some shit different. But, you know, and then when you really start thinking about it, it's like, well, hell, if I went back and did things different when I was 21, would I still have the kids that I have? Would I have the grandkids that I have? Would I learn and do the things that I've done? So it's like, yeah, if you could just go back and change one little thing, but if you could get a preview and see how it turns out, it might be feasible. But my whole thing with time travel is I'm more of a, not theoretical, but like a scientist part of it, because one thing that's universal about time travel in the movies and television shows, one thing that's universal throughout them all, they use actual real terminology, like factual scientific terminology, you know, like quantum, you know, and you know, the physics of it. And they try to get some of the real math in there and some of the real physics and to make it sound convincing. But I mean, when you think back to like Star Trek, the original series, you know, the flip phone, the communicators,
Right.
we got them now. The tablets, the iPads are using, we got them now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the food replicators, we got them now. You know, so is it an act of you know, is it art imitating life, or is it life imitating art? You know, it's kind of like a paradox. It's like, would we have those things right now,
Right.
designed the way they are, working the way they are, if it wasn't for the influence of Star Trek? Or, as some conspiracy theorists think, all this stuff that they pump out on these sci-fi shows with these big budgets are to cover up, alien technology that we've got from, going into the future and bringing it back so we can bring it into the public's use, but we've got to put it out there so they get used to it first.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, so art, life, art, how does it work? But like my whole thing on the time travel is, honestly, we're traveling through time right now. There's I mean, it's scientific fact. I mean, we're legitimately traveling through time right now. And you brought up one of the things I was talking about with the astronauts, but real life time travel occurs through time dilation. And, Einstein's theory of special relativity kind of brought all that to life. And as a part of his theory, he envisioned space itself. He re-envisioned space. And he's the one that coined the phrase space-time. Einstein did. And he fused 3 dimensions of space into 1 dimension of time in a single term. He just kind of combined it all together. And instead of treating time as a flat space that holds objects in the universe, he thought of it as like curved and malleable and able to form gravitational dips around masses that pull other objects in. Like his example was if you took a bowling ball and stuck it in the middle of a trampoline, everything on the trampoline gravitates towards the bowling ball, and the closer these objects get to the bowling ball, the faster they become because they're going into the dip. And he envisioned space that way, as like, say with the planet Earth or whatever, and the way the gravity works, and which is cool because you brought gravity up earlier, because it's like a major big deal to it. But so you got to think that the closer to the Earth's core, the faster things are moving. So the further away, according to Einstein's theory, time moves more slowly as you move faster through space.
Right.
The closer an object is to the center of the Earth, the slower time moves for that object. It's like a perfect example, and you brought it up a while ago, was the being in space, and the actual proof of going forward in time is actually happening right now. And the effect can be seen in GPS satellites, which orbit, 20,000 kilometers above the Earth.
Right.
They have very highly precise clocks on board each one of these satellites. Every single day, those satellites advance 38 microseconds per day. So every single day, at the end of the day, those clocks pause. They don't change from 11:59 to 12 o'clock. They don't click to 12 o'clock until they pause for 38 microseconds, so that they can, every day they reset it to the Earth's time, because they're actually going faster. So I thought that was pretty cool. And that's from time dilation. And it might not seem significant, but over time, you're talking, especially for GPS, you're talking kilometers in difference over time, which is like crazy. And like, I always thought that one of the coolest examples of time dilation, but it was really hard to understand, I wish they'd have presented it different, was that movie Interstellar. I mean, that thing was just a mind-blowing, but it was
a good one.
It was a perfect example, especially with the black hole, and how it was like what was it? It's like 7 years for every hour that they were losing, which was crazy. But it's a perfect example because a black hole has a massive a black hole has a massive gravity pull, so you can super intensify the difference in time. Another example is the astronaut Scott Kelly, who has a twin brother. They're both astronauts, and they've been used in several different experiments with NASA on, aging and anything that can do with a human. Because if you're going to test a human body to see what changes in space, it's awesome if you have a twin, because one is your one is your fixed point, and the other one is the one that changes with the variables. So, Scott Kelly, it was either right at a year or a little bit over a year in orbit. And with those clocks up there, he basically gained 6 minutes. He gained 6 seconds. Out of the year, he gained 6 seconds over his brother. So when they were born, he was 6 minutes older than his brother. When he came back from space, he was 6 minutes and 6 seconds older than his brother, because every day it was 38 milliseconds, and he was up there for, over a year, which that is crazy that you can age like that, but it kind of brings it into perspective. And the great part is that through science, almost all scientists agree, especially theoretical physicists agree, that traveling through time is possible. Einstein himself even said it. Yeah, there's nothing to say that it can't happen. There's no proof that you can't do it. The problem is going forward in time is easy. Going back in time, that's where the problem kicks in. because going forward in time, the only thing keeping us from going forward in time is we can't go fast enough, because the faster you go, the faster the dilation is. And so,
and the more your mass expands. Yeah,
exactly. The faster you go, the further in time you're going to get. The problem for me exists. I can agree with that. The problem with me exists if there was only one planet in space that would work. But as you're flying through space, getting faster and faster and faster, you're going to encounter other gravity wells from other planets and other spatial bodies that are going to throw the math completely out of the window. Exactly. You know, that's the wormhole thing. That's great. That's where you go from point A to point B like that. You know, but and I thought one of the coolest parts about it that really banged it home was Stephen Hawking, the late Stephen Hawking. He said that the best evidence we have that time travel to the past is not possible. Now, he did agree that to the future is possible, but he said that time travel to the past is not possible, and that it never will be possible, is that we have not been invaded by hordes of tourists from the future. Exactly. I'm like, wow, that hit. I'm like, wow.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and the whole part about time travel that bothers me a little bit, because I look at it from both angles. All right, and then you go to the conservation of mass, the law of the conservation of mass. All right. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. The same amount of energy exists in this bubble of time. The same amount. It can transition from one type of energy to another. Yeah, from one type of energy to another. So if you were to go back in time, technically, if you went back in time, you're bringing energy with you. You're creating new. You're not creating new energy, but you're taking energy away from one space, which according to the math is illegal, and you're adding energy to another space, which technically is supposedly illegal. So that part kind of throws me off, because you're transferring mass, but you're also bringing your energy. So if you were just to watch and not do anything, not breathe or not give off any kind of body heat, if it was just a mini camera to watch, it would make sense. But the second that you inject any energy into that bubble of time, it's going to throw everything out of whack. Kind of like the grandfather paradox on steroids, at least to me. Right. You know, and then again, you got to talk about can the same matter occupy the same space? Like, can you actually legitimately go back and see your younger self? Because technically, that's the same matter.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that theory too, but I would posit that it's not the same matter, because our cells replace themselves like every.
I thought about that too, but if you're talking about going back in time, like it's technically it's not, because your cells replace themselves every few years. But if that's the case, then
I would say it's the same energy, though. When you say we're the same energy as we've always been.
Yeah, but the thing is, it had, like, it's technically not the same mass, but technically it is. Otherwise, we would forget who we are every 7 days, and like start over. So it's like almost
that's a different discussion. Are you saying that our brain is just the matter? It's not the energy, or it's not something else that we don't even know, like the spiritual?
Well, yes and no. But when you're if every single cell in our body is replenishing itself, I can't remember the time frame it is. Say it's 2 years or 7 years, then every 7 years, instead of it hitting a reset button, those cells in there's got to be a genetic memory in each individual cell, almost like every cell is cloned. It's like this cell is cloned to this cell. So technically, that would be, in my mind, that would be the only way that you could replenish your body without losing any intelligence or anything of yourself. So technically, that would be the same matter, just updated. It would be like a dirty car versus a car going through the car wash. It's the same car. One's just clean and new, and the other one's dirty.
Right. Well, I think I may be wrong on this, but our neurons don't replace themselves, right? The way our brain works, it's the same cells. That's why you lose neurons, and it's hard to replace them, because they don't replicate the same way the rest of the cells in our body do.
And your telomeres.
I want to address people. People keep mentioning deja vu. There's a theory about deja vu, and when I heard it, it blew me away. Deja vu is when we link up with different versions of ourselves in alternate universes, and we get a tiny glimpse of something they've already lived. And that's what deja vu is. When I heard that, I was like, man, that's dope. Like, what if that's an actual?
That makes sense, because I've experienced deja vu, and that's why maybe that's why you pause when you're like, whoa, I remember this, but it was a little bit different than the way I remembered it. You know what I mean? It was like, it seems really, really familiar, but it's not exact. Mm-hmm. So that would make sense if it was from a different parallel universe. Like it's close to the same thing, but not quite.
Right. I mean, I'm all into it because there's so much about the universe we don't understand, and I get in arguments with people, with church folk all the time who are so anti-science. God created this universe, guys. I mean, He made the rules and the physics work the way it has. You know, like my grandma doesn't even believe dinosaurs existed, man, and I can't talk to her about science sometimes.
Yeah,
Grandma, really?
I
You don't
have a
believe dinosaurs?
cousin. Yeah, same thing. They totally believe that the devil put the dinosaur bones there to deceive us. Yeah,
That's so.
that's
I know that's what she believes. She believes that too. That anything scientific is from the devil. But to me, the greatest scientific in our history, like discoveries in our history, were from people who were Christian, were evangelical Christian. Like we were talking about Newton earlier. Newton was an evangelical Christian who was obsessed with trying to figure out a mathematical way to decide when Jesus was coming back, and he invented calculus to do it. So I mean, I don't know, but I digress. Let's get back to time travel. Um,
I mean, if you think about it, if you travel through time to the future, but you can't come back, what's the point?
right. I know,
I mean,
right?
it's not like you can affect any change. It's not like, what I mean? Like if you can't go back and forth, then what's the point? Number one, here's the thing. I'm glad time travel doesn't exist right now, because with the people we got in charge, oh my God, talk about a SHTF.
I know, right?
You kidding me? Ugh.
Yeah, human beings like now, like this modern society, we couldn't handle time travel. We would destroy ourselves with it. There's
Yeah.
no way. That's probably why it hasn't been invented, because we couldn't handle it. Look, we can't even handle, like right now. We got these globalists trying to take over the whole world with what we have now, all about money and power. Time travel, man, they couldn't handle it. Everything would be screwed.
Oh, you want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
Do you remember, Sophia, right?
Yeah.
The robot Sophia,
Mhm.
and named after the goddess of wisdom.
Right.
Well, yeah, she was asked that question on the future of time travel. Does anybody remember that?
I don't.
What her
Mm-mm.
answer was?
What was
She
it?
said she said that they will be enslaved, that humans would be enslaved through neurological implants
Yeah, we're doing that right
concerning
now. Yeah.
concerning time
And then
travel,
Elon Musk
and
happened.
that if they weren't, that that um that they would fall anyway by themselves, and that AI would be the Godhead. I think it was called the Godhead, or of civilization's collapse, ending
Mhm.
itself.
Yeah. I mean, it's the crazy part about time travel, especially if you go into like different religions or different parts of the globe, different societies, people have different views on it. It's almost like religion and all these different. Everybody's got a different view, and everybody thinks that they know things. But to me, it's just like it's like this really awesome but yet unattainable goal, or is it just something to occupy time? I mean, it makes for really good movies. It makes for really good TV shows. And then when you go to the science of it, Native, you know as well as I do, from being a science teacher, nothing is fact in science. Nothing is proven. You can't even say that word in science. Proven this,
Yeah.
proven that, fact. Nothing is proven. Perfect example: Pluto is not a planet anymore. But when I graduated high school, it was a
Yeah.
planet. You know,
Hmm.
anything in science can change. If they're saying, hey, it's not a fact. It can be a law, it can be a theory, and it can be a hypothesis, a theory, a law, but it's not a fact. It's because nothing is definite in science, because it's all based on what I think, why I think this happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
Hmm.
like
Nisha's got a good question. Nisha's got a good time travel question. You see it?
time travel. If you could travel forward, would you want to know when you pass away or how? Uh, Well, here's the thing, because then you got a paradox. Because if you knew when you were going to, and if you
Right.
knew how you were going to, you would do everything in your power to change that. Like if you knew you were going to be
Yeah.
in an airplane crash, well, I'd never get on an airplane again. Now,
But what
is
if
that
that is what causes you to,
exactly? That's
you
that
know what
whole
I'm saying?
remember that movie on
Yeah, the
TV?
paradox.
That what was that
Yes.
movie? What was that movie on TV where they knew the day that, but and then they changed it, but they still died? Like
Yeah, it was
it,
like next or the knowing or something.
something. It's like it doesn't matter what you do. If
With
you
Nick
your
Cage, by
time,
Nicolas Cage.
yeah, it's like if it's your time, it's your time. You know what I mean?
Right.
It doesn't matter what the method is.
I would
It's
want to know, man, because I would know the day, man. I would live it up.
man. What are you talking about? I'd party.
I'd be living dangerously.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would definitely want to know.
So, what do you think about the Mandela effect? Do you think that it's caused by time travel, or rather, it's a side effect of time travel, maybe, in a way? Because I've experienced something really weird, and it's odd that I have found people that say the same thing about the same time period. And I know a lot of you have heard, a lot of stories that I tell about, personal things and stuff like that. Well, in the very, very early 90s, I can't explain it, but I feel it's different. It's like there's something you can't pinpoint, but it's not how it should be, or not right, or not the same. Like something's off.
Right. I mean, and you got to think that if the Germans had anti gravity levitation and they were into the spirit, they were into time travel, they were into aliens. You've got to think that because obviously, I believe there's something else out there. Bottom line, the main reason is because we as human beings are so freaking arrogant. We think they're the only ones around. I mean, come on. All right. If the Earth is not flat, it is a globe, and we are on a planet spinning through the universe.
It is
Do you realize
definitely
how
not fun.
arrogant? Yeah. If you are arrogant enough to think that you're a member of the only club that made it, from the primordial ooze,
Mhm.
you're special. There's too many other planets. I mean, there's just too many. It makes no sense. So yeah, I believe there's something else out there. Um, and if you got back in the 40s, people experimenting with anti-gravity and electromagnetism and all this stuff, why would you think they stopped? Why would you think there isn't like another secret little group that's been doing it constantly since the 40s? Why would you
Right.
think that there's not like a secret little underground place somewhere where all kinds of crazy stuff's going on that you don't even know about? Why would you think that they haven't been going back and forth in time right now? And that's what's screwing up with the deja vu. Maybe they're doing all kinds of weird stuff right now. Maybe they went back and screwed some shit up, and that's why we're stuck in the predicament that we're in right now.
Yeah.
It's
I wouldn't doubt it, man.
Right.
But I mean, who knows? The misappropriation of billions of dollars and all these world governments, who knows what private programs they've been working on for freaking decades, man. Like Area 51's a real place. We might not know exactly what's going on in there. It might not even be aliens, man. They could be doing all kinds of weird experiments. They could have they could have already created a zombie virus and that's what they're doing in there. Who knows what they're doing over there? Like I wouldn't doubt any of that stuff. At this point in the history of humanity, all that's gone on in the past 2 years, I wouldn't doubt anything that comes out. We have seen conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory become conspiracy fact over and over and over. So I wouldn't doubt anything like you just said, brother. I'm on it.
yeah. I
I
mean,
do want to. I want to mention one more theory, and just because I've had personal experience with this about time travel, is that our physical bodies, because of the laws of physics, like we were just talking about Einstein and the theory of relativity and why traveling through time might be impossible for the physical. But spiritually, people have been having experiences to where they've traveled forward in time and seen things. That's why we have prophecy. That's why, in the book of Revelation and all that stuff. But also, the way that the angels travel from heaven to earth like that. It's not a physical thing you can do. It's a spiritual thing that they do. They exist on a different plane. If you believe in ghosts, if you believe in spirits and all these different things. Um, but also people that have certain experiences like with LSD, with mushrooms and all these different things. There's certain strains of marijuana that I smoke myself. And I promise you, I time traveled, man. Like it seemed like hours passed, but it was only a couple of minutes. Like all the experiences that I had in those 2 minutes, there's no way it was just 2 minutes. And some of y'all in the chat know what I'm talking about too. You know, so I would believe that time travel is possible for us to access through the power of our minds. We just don't know how to do it yet. We don't let's not forget we only use a tiny portion of our brain power at once, you know, and the vast majority of it's not even used.
Yeah, I mean, look at how many crazy instances throughout history where battles and wars have been, or mainly battles have been decided, you know, through whether it was in a smokehouse, the peyote, or other different herbs, you know, LSD, doing the tripping. I mean, there's some truly historical stuff was done when you were in an altered state, you know, and that's some crazy stuff. I got a weird concept for you. All right. To talk about, you know, because time travel is proportional to mass, and I think it's proportional to speed. I don't. It's not. You can't accomplish it without the right mass and without the right speed. But here's something that blows my mind, and everybody's done it. Have you looked at, like, say, a fly or an ant and how fucking fast they move?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at huge animals like dinosaurs and hippos and giraffes and things like that, and they're crazy slow in comparison. And then we're somewhere in the middle, like a hummingbird. I mean, God, you can't even see it; its wings flapping, but it's existing in the same, according to us, because we're judging everything by our perspective, because we're arrogant. It's existing in my time, and it's moving super fast. Well, what if it's not? What if we're existing in its time and we're just really, really slow?
Right.
It's like
That's a good point, man.
The ants are looking at us like we're looking at dinosaurs.
You
know what
blew
I mean?
my mind, Coach. You just blew my mind.
I mean, think about it.
I
mean,
never thought of that aspect of it. That's
well, everything
crazy.
in science is about our perspective. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it our perspective? What if it's the ants' perspective? What if we're just super slow?
Yeah.
I mean, that would literally be an example of literal time travel here, happening right now.
Wow.
On the planet every single day. That's why, you know, it's like those super fast flies only live for 7 days. It's 7 days to us. To them, it might be 70 freaking years.
Like a lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Let's think back to when you were little.
Yeah.
When you were little, do you remember how slow time went and how fast time is going now?
Like a school year lasted forever when you were in kindergarten and first grade.
Yeah.
And the older you got, like now as an adult, man, year
it's
after year,
by.
man. I'm about to turn 40, man. I'm like, where in the hell did my life go?
Yeah, it's all because we're looking at it from our perspective, and it's like, why? We're not. What makes you? Why are you so arrogant to think we're in charge?
Yeah,
you know.
I want to address Big Chat's question though. Big Chat did bring out a good question about the stars in the sky and about how the universe is constantly expanding.
Yeah,
but you also have to think too, some of the stars we see are billions of light years away, and by the time their light reaches us, they've already supernovaed and gone. And actually, if you met the measured position like of our constellations, they're actually slowly moving apart, and the constellations are moving. So if we went back like 1,000 years, the constellations would look different than they do today. So they are actually moving. It's just they're super far away.
Yeah, it takes 11 minutes for sunlight to get to the Earth, or it's 8 minutes for sunlight to get to the Earth. So when you see the sun setting, it's already gone. You're still in light, but the sun's already gone. Right. You know, so it takes, and those stars that you're seeing in the sky are like billions of light years away. So the light that you're looking at in the night sky when you're looking at a star, there's a good chance that star isn't even there anymore. It could have already supernovaed and disappeared. I mean, it could have already sent out a coronal mass ejection that's headed our way to light us up, and we don't even know it yet. You know,
Big Chat, stop trying to put us in the Matrix, man. We're not in the Matrix, I promise. I love Big Chat, man. He's got a great channel too. He puts out some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, here's one. It says, still, why the pyramids still line up with the constellations? They line up with the constellations because it's relative. If those stars and those constellations are moving in the same direction or at a constant same pace, the general shape is going to still line up.
And if you actually look at the actual mathematics, they are slightly off, kiddo. Mm-hmm. They do line up, like Ghost said, relatively. They're pointing like where they're supposed to from the time to when they were first built, but they are actually slightly off.
And then you have to take into account it may take 10,000 years for the shift to happen from the light, from when the star's putting out when they built the pyramids to when it actually moves before it gets here to Earth. So as of right now, out in space, those stars that line up with the pyramids, they probably moved so far now that they don't line up. We just don't know it yet because the light hasn't reached us yet.
And when a planet starts, when it moves, as it moves faster, in fact, doesn't it grow as well?
The star?
The mass of the planet?
When it, I missed your
As
question.
it rotates faster, the faster it rotates.
Mm-hmm. The mass doesn't change. Like the mass is just the measurement of stuff that's in stuff. So your mass doesn't change unless you chop off an arm. Your mass is the same. Your the weight will change, but like if it's spinning real fast, I don't think the mass or weight changes. I know it's like our planet, it bulges along the equator because it's spinning so fast. So like the equator.
It's been a while. I couldn't remember.
Now I think the sun, because it's blowing off crazy amounts of energy and it's in fission and fusion and all that good stuff, it is actually, it's losing mass. It's losing particles. It's losing part of it.
Sophia, what's she talking about, man? We're getting transmissions from space. I hadn't heard this.
What do y'all think about the radio frequency?
Yeah, they do hear noises from space.
Yeah, I've been seeing stuff about that.
Yeah, but also different planets and stars and things make their own noises as well.
Yeah. Well, everything vibrates. Everything vibrates at its own resonance. So I mean, yeah, I promise you, there's all kinds of noises coming from out there. But until they come back with, "Hey, yo, what's up? Can we stop by and meet y'all?" Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about it. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. But you think, like, to me, like this whole time travel concept, the only way in my brain I see it working is if you don't necessarily move through time. I like the way that Tony Stark said it in Endgame. You know, they didn't push him through time; they pushed time through him. That concept I can see simply because you're not moving yourself through time, because now you're taking your mass and your energy and you're breaking some of the so-called laws, you know, with the conservation of energy, and you can't make any and you can't destroy it. But if you're moving time through you, like basically you're the view screen on a movie theater, if you're moving time through you to where you can just watch what happens, you can't necessarily affect it, but you can see what's happening. That kind of makes sense to me. Or if you can just hit the pause button, because if you hit pause and you're moving mass through different times, you're not changing anything because everything's stopped. It's paused. So nothing's happening. So if you could have a bubble around you, like a force field, to where your energy can't react with the things around you and you can't physically affect anything, you can simply move through time as an observer and not affect anything, because then you're not bleeding off any energy, which would throw everything out of whack. You don't have a tropic cascade if you end up in the same universe or same parallel as your identical mass, which was covered actually in an episode of Stargate, where herself from another mirror universe came into their universe, and one of them was going to die because you couldn't have the same matter in the same time space, which was a really trippy show. But yeah, so if you could have a bubble around you where you couldn't affect it, that would make sense, because then there would be no risk, nothing. And you could like observe stuff. You go to the future and be like, okay, now I know who wins the Super Bowl, who wins the World Series. Now I can go back and place a bet. That's feasible because you're not actually touching it if you're just watching it.
Dude, that was fucking deep. I'm not even kidding. Like, I've never heard it explained like that. I like this.
It's the only way it would work without destroying shit. Because we're humans, we can't help but fuck shit up. We're gonna go touch the button when they say don't touch the button. We're gonna do it.
I am. Don't tell me not to touch that button.
Yeah, I'm touching it. Yeah, but if you're in like this little protected bubble where you can't bleed off any energy, you can't affect any of the laws of physics, and you can just observe and see it, almost like watching a rerun of a movie. Go back to the past, just to, I know I played a really good game, in my championship football game in high school, but I was playing the game. I didn't get to watch it. You know what I mean? And it's not the same as watching a videotape. Let me just go back and see it through history. I could see that being a thing in the future where they tap into you and you could literally go back like in your memories, but step out from it and like observe it and watch it like they do on football games now, where you got the cameras where they stop and then it moves all around the player. I'm going, how in the hell do they do that? It's like virtual reality. But it's
Right.
I can see that's the only way I can see time travel working is if you couldn't interact. Because the moment you interact with it, it sets off a cascade of events that you don't know what's going to
Right.
happen.
I mean, that goes back to my theory of solidified time. Like there's just certain things that are going to happen because the creator of everything has ordained it to happen, and things are set in motion according to what's going to happen. That's why when he gives prophecy, it's going to happen. It's solidified, and you can't change it. But I like the way you explain it too. Like you can't interact with it. That's a cool concept. I like that.
That would be the only way that it would work. That'd be the only way that I would be willing to say, yeah, let's do this if I was in charge. Because I'm not going to trust anybody to go back in time and not screw with some shit. It's just human nature, man. That's what we do.
And there's a lot of questions with like CERN, DARPA, and the military, and maybe if you guys want to touch on that a little bit.
What'd you say, Sid? I'm sorry. Say it again. I'm sorry. I missed that.
I was asking about CERN, DARPA, and the military and their supposed maybe roles in all this.
I hear people talk about CERN a lot, and I mean, I've always been interested in the particle collisions and stuff because of what's created. But man, those scientists are just throwing stuff at the wall to see what happens. They're all on the verge of some big, great discovery. Like, oh, we discovered the boson particle. I was like, okay, so what? What does it do? Where does it come from? How does it affect us? We'll see. We're going to throw some more particles at each other and see what happens. But I think it's all bunk.
Like, here's a concept, all right? This is, and in my brain, this is totally 100% feasible. This could be happening right now. Stargate, the entire series Stargate. That shit could legitimately be happening right now, and we would not know anything about it. And if you don't believe me, watch the damn show. It tells you how. It's buried at NORAD. Nobody knows about it. It's completely secretive. Yeah, they're going to all these alien planets, building back these technologies that we're using right now. Everything is legit. It could legitimately be going on right now. And the reason why
the government too.
Yeah. The government cooperated with that show. A lot of you guys don't know that. The Secretary of the Air Force, the Secretary of Defense were guest stars on the show as themselves. The military uniforms are like 99% accurate when they're in uniform. And anytime you watch a military show, Nate will tell you, if you watch the show and the uniform, if you're a vet, you always check the uniforms out. If they're accurate, that means that the military cooperated with the show. Otherwise, they have to do something screw with the uniform. It can't be legit if the military didn't help with the show. So the military helped. Oh yeah, day one. Now here's the crazy part. Now you've got they did an episode called Wormhole Extreme where they did exactly what I'm telling you right now. They did an episode about a security leak, and actually he was an alien and he had visions and his mind was white blank. Anyway, there was a legitimate TV show being produced at that time while Stargate was on, and it was called Wormhole Extreme, and it was the actual shit that they were really doing, but it was put into a TV show as fiction. Ring any bells? I mean, I'm going, wait a minute.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
I remember that.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
You're just going to put that right in front of my face right now. And that's what the government's great at doing. They'll leak something and let it go as fiction, but it's actually fact. That shit could really be happening right now. And if it was, that would explain a whole lot of crazy technological advances. That would explain why NORAD is no longer occupied by, the people that's supposed to be there. I mean, it's supposedly shut down, but there's still, Canadian and U.S. presence there, monitoring things. But so I mean, there's no reason why it wouldn't be. Because here's the thing: they use all Earth. Like the one reason why I love Star Trek was because everything was based on science. Everything was based on stuff you learned in school, like the names of all the gods, all the bad aliens. They were all from myth and legend. You had Loki, you had Thor, you had Hathor, Ra, all those things that you learned in history, and they spun it in a completely different way. So I'm going, wait a minute, all that shit I learned in school was bullshit. So this is what it's about. They even delved into the pyramids, why they were there, which makes complete sense, like legitimately really makes sense. But and why the pyramids are all over the planet, poised the same different way. I mean, look at airports. Airports are all over the planet, and they're all designed pretty much the same with different layouts. Airports, runways going in different directions. I mean, if you think about it, it's like, holy shit, man. Like, and the problem is nobody's smart enough to think of all that shit and put it in the script and make it come out exactly how it is today. There's way too many parallels. I mean, that would blow my mind. If somebody said, hey, man, I want you to write a TV show, I want you to parallel everything in it with, shit that's really happening.
Right.
It's like, how the hell am I going to do that?
No doubt, man. But I was going to, Big Chap's throwing out some good questions, man. But before I do that, where's that? Conspiracy stories. Tell me what I'm thinking right now, or everything you said so far in the chat's bullshit. All right, we'll see if he tells me what I just thought. He just said we're all in simulation and we're all being monitored, and But anyway, Big Chap, man.
He is throwing some good stuff.
He is, man. Are you a flat earther, Big Chap? I didn't know that. I'm not, man. I haven't seen anything. Prove me wrong. I'm not.
Big
the
Chap
Earth is round. Prove me wrong.
Big Chap, if the Earth wasn't moving.
Let me say this one thing, Ghost, about how our airplanes work. They travel the fastest route when you're in an airplane is not a straight line. You have to there's these certain circles. Like when you look on the globe, you know how it's split up on these lines. Like the airplanes will follow those lines directly because those are the fastest ways to get from point A to point B. It's not like a straight line. When you go up, the closer you are to Earth, and the more the Earth affects your gravity. I think you're right. You should be able to hover, but not in a helicopter. You have to go way up above the atmosphere.
Well, plus you're spinning. That helicopter is spinning with the same speed that the Earth is because you left the Earth. That's where you're at. It's not like the Earth is still and you're in a pickup truck and you throw a ball in the air. That's why it comes back down in the pickup truck. It's moving everything.
Far out in the space for Earth's gravity not to affect. Look at the moon. The moon is affected by Earth's gravity.
That is a good question, though.
Yeah, man. I want to have like a real discussion with a hardcore flat earther because.
Oh, that'd be so much fun.
I don't believe it. I just don't see any evidence that proves
it. Well, here's what I did. I'm a firm believer the Earth is round, but when I heard about the flat Earth theory, I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna jump into this and see what's going on and give it its chance. There are a lot of really relevant questions and topics that come up, but not. I can question anything. It doesn't mean that my questions are right or they're valid, but they have a lot of really good questions that make you think. But you're talking a flat plane. Absolutely. You're talking a flat plane versus a globe. So there's no easy transition for that. And in a bottom line, does it really matter if it's flat or round? Is it going to change your life or what you're doing right now? We could be in one of those glass ant houses, ant farms on somebody's desk for all we know.
Right.
It's not going to change anything.
You're right. But I would really like, because I'll be honest, I haven't really investigated it. I've just heard other people talk about it.
Yeah.
Devout Lion has, but I haven't really talked to him.
I've dug into it, like the curvature and how you can see, certain cities across the Great Lakes when there's supposed to be a certain percentage drop per mile. That's the devastating one. And when they're shooting a flat laser, a laser is perfectly flat. When they're shooting a laser and they're getting like weird readings on the other end where they put up the mirror, that's really, that makes you really think. It's like, all right, I know for a fact the laser's flat.
Right.
And if they're shining it, if you're shining it here at 2 foot off the ground and you're shining it, 200 miles that way to hit a reflective mirror, and now you can't even see the mirror because the curvature of the Earth went away. Cool. But they're getting reports that they're getting a bounce back from the laser. So there is no curvature. Really? And then I've seen the videos. I've seen the video of a guy who took a homemade rocket and strapped a GoPro to it.
Einstein, light is affected by gravity.
Yeah, you're right.
He proved that.
Yeah, it is. But is it that much? No, so I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I will say this. The thing about the flat Earth stuff that really does intrigue me is all their theories on Antarctica, because there's some shit going on in Antarctica.
Oh yeah, I love those.
Man.
The hollow Earth.
Russia, China, who knows who else is in Antarctica doing stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't get me started on the hollow Earth, man.
Oh yeah.
I believe that.
Admiral
I
Richard
believe how
Byrd.
it works.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
Admiral Richard.
I believe
Admiral
how
Richard
it
Byrd.
works.
Admiral
Yeah.
Richard Byrd.
Journey to the center of
Operation
the earth.
Operation High Jump. Have y'all researched that?
Yep.
No.
General Admiral Byrd. Admiral Byrd. You haven't researched Operation High Jump? It was a military exercise after World War II. They sent him to Antarctica to find out what was going on and map the plate. Dude, there's a whole lot of weird shit going on, man.
What is it?
You
Richard
have
Byrd?
to look. You have
Yeah.
to look that up, Native. You really
I
do.
will.
Admiral Richard Byrd. It's called Operation High Jump.
That
yeah.
name sounds familiar to me.
He was all over TV back in the day. Bro, he came out on national television, on live television, and said there were aliens. He met them. He knew where they were at. We were not alone. There's land beyond the wall, the Great Wall in Antarctica. He said that there was a continent-sized landmass larger than North America, and it was temperate. It wasn't frozen and it wasn't cold. He said there's so, and then all of a sudden he went dark. They got rid of him. You know, it was, dude, research this crazy. I mean, it shows live footage from the Operation High Jump in Antarctica and all this stuff, and the people that they lost. And it was a big Navy thing. There were like several warships, the whole 9 yards went down. There was all top secret stuff. It's crazy. Wow. And then he goes into flying into the center of the into the hollow earth. There's another, and it'll lead into that where a pilot apparently flew into the hollow earth. Like just flew inside and documented and drew pictures of all this stuff. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's some crazy stuff. And it's all based in fact. This guy actually existed, actually did it with government money and went down there and wrote these reports.
So, I mean, the hollow earth, that makes sense to me over flat earth. There's just too many like things you have to negate for there to be a flat earth. You know what I mean? There really is. There's just too many things that you have to explain away or say, oh, we don't know, but you can't do that. You know,
there was one guy
travel all the way around a flat earth.
Right. Well, there was one guy. That I was chatting with, and I can't remember where it was at, but he's like, the earth is flat. We're talking about, I said, if it's flat, then how do you get, he said, the reason I know it's flat is because of the hollow earth theory. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, he didn't fly into a hole. He went over the edge and gravity inverted. He goes, the earth's flat. There's earth on top and there's earth on the bottom. We just live on the top. We don't know what's going on the bottom. I'm like, what? And then I went, holy shit. All right. So if gravity is in the middle, that would legit work. If it's pulling from the top down and from the bottom up.
But I would still say this though. If that's true, then the earth's not flat then. If you could still go to the other side and being within an atmosphere, in a spherical atmosphere, then because flat Earth said there's a dome over the
right. Yeah. Earth. No, this guy didn't say there was a dome. It was flat. It was flat on both sides, flat on the top and flat on the bottom. You know what I mean? But the gravity pulled
like
this way on the bottom.
Civilization on the bottom part that we know nothing about.
Like
that's where the reptilians are from.
Like a complete double. Yeah. And that was crazy because that leads back into the myth that you would sail off the edge of the earth and the monsters would get you.
Right.
that like leads. I'm like, well, shit. I mean, what are you gonna do? They reached up and grabbed you and pulled you to the underside, and that was crazy because in the last King Kong Godzilla movie, they did that with the HERVs, the Hollow Earth vehicles. When they went through, gravity inverted and it pulled them back up.
That makes sense.
Yes.
And I will say this too, to give some credence to the flat Earth. Because I think about like a large asteroid that would have its own gravity, and it would be like just a flat object kind of floating through space. To me, I mean, that's kind of like what they're saying, but still, for the whole Earth to say that it's flat, I just don't see it.
And there was another report from a sailor, military guy, and this is way back, like in the late 1800s. After Antarctica was discovered, and he was sent on a mission to map it, because England did that back in the day. They'd send, go out and map this new world, and apparently he mapped from right to left. So he turned port and started doing the mapping, but he was there for like 10 times as long as he was supposed to have been, and he had to keep turning left. He never turned right. And then his hypothesis was that Antarctica wasn't a landmass at the bottom of the earth. Antarctica was actually a wall, a several 100-meter high wall of ice that encircled the entire flat Earth. That's what keeps the water in. And I'm like, well, shit, that makes sense too. From a physics standpoint, that would keep the water in. But, you know, how about getting a plane, go up over it and fly around and tell me what you see? But they're documenting that, you know, he apparently sailed like hundreds of thousands of miles more than he should have.
He sent me a video. It was a short clip of video. It was from a guy who believes in flat Earth theory, and he was talking about the pictures of the Earth that we see are fake. And in the video, he kind of proved it, and I was like, "Damn, he's right." He's like, "Damn it, all these pictures of the Earth are fucking fake. Where you can't find a real picture of the Earth." So I'm like, "Okay." Like I'm saying, like I'm not calling you guys crazy who believe in it. I'm just saying I haven't seen the evidence to make me say, "Okay,
right,
yeah, I believe
right." Sherry Leach, what I'm getting at, and don't get me wrong, I believe the Earth is round. We're on a globe. Okay, that's what I believe until proven otherwise. And that's my choice. But what his thing is, the way it was drawn out with the flat Earth, is if you took a round disc and you just made a round Earth, and it was surrounded by a 2,000-foot high wall of ice. That wall of ice is Antarctica. Antarctica isn't at the bottom. Antarctica actually surrounds the entire flat Earth, holds all the water in, and all the continents are inside there. So according to that map that they drew, that Antarctica isn't, it's a land mass, but it actually is the actual perimeter that holds the water in and keeps everything in. And that's where the dome actually touches, is around the perimeter of Antarctica. The dome.
So what about I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you a question. Oh, what about the solar cycle? What about the lunar cycle and all these different things? And I mean, if in order for the Earth to be flat, like you have to negate a lot of things.
I've watched a lot of different videos on it just because they were funny, and some of the stuff, man, it legit makes sense. Like from a scientific physics standpoint, you're looking at shit that wow, you know, because if the Earth's flat, all right, number one, maybe it's not perfectly flat. Maybe it is a little higher in the middle than it is on the outsides. Maybe it's like this instead of this.
Yeah.
And then if the sun and moon were actually just lights in the firmament that are moving around, you would get seasons. And if it was wobbling, if it was going close and far and it was changing this, you would get your seasons. You would get your tides with the moon doing the same thing. It legitimately, if you really dig into it, it's like, holy shit, man, I need to dig further because this has merit. It doesn't mean I believe it yet. It's a good debate. You know what I mean? I love that. I love good debates. But some of the stuff they're coming up with, man, it's like,
Like I want someone who's been studying this for a long time to come up on the panel one night, not tonight, but another time. And I'll ask you questions and we'll talk about it.
Like, here's this one. How about this one? What are the odds that we're on a spinning globe that has a moon and a sun, and we can have a total eclipse? What are the odds that our moon is exactly the same size as the sun in relative distance, where it perfectly covers the sun? What are the odds of that? What are the odds of us having a moon that is tidally locked and the moon doesn't rotate? I mean, it rotates, but we don't see it. We always see the same size of the moon. There's actually documentation of people way back in the day, actual religious documentation, where it says before the moon was here, before the moon was in the sky. And there's people, conspiracy theorists, that think the moon is actually a satellite. There's documented paperwork stating that the astronauts said the moon had a hollow sound when they hit it. And they put seismographs up on the moon, and they said it echoed for like hours that it's hollow on the inside. There's people that say that the moon is actually a satellite, and then it's hollow on the inside. That's why it doesn't spin.
And you all, I think Ghost isn't telling you everything. He drug that moon all the way over here himself from the other side of the universe. We all know he did.
Yeah, that was all me. Yeah, so I mean, there's some crazy stuff. And the thing is, what are the odds? Come on, really? We're the only planet with life. All right. We have a moon that it's tidally locked to our planet, where we always see the same size.
Mhm.
All right. And now if you go deeper into science, people are saying that the moon was formed from a collision with the Earth. That's why the moon is made up of pretty much the same elements the Earth is, and it broke away and it turned into a circle. All right. So have you ever, all right. So in space and anywhere else, an object in motion will stay in motion until it's acted on by another force.
Mhm.
So so you're telling me that something hit the Earth and it broke off the moon, but when it broke it off, it wasn't spinning at all, and we're in the gravity of space. So even if it had a slight rotation, it's going to keep rotating until gravity acts on it, which would stop the rotation or slow the rotation. But it wouldn't.
Well, I mean, to me, everything you just said proves the existence of a higher being who put
there's something going on. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It really does. Whatever you believe, guys, aliens. If you think there's technology on Earth that could do that, whatever, or God, like I do, I think He set things in motion. But that, like you said, though, there are certain like aspects of like physical theory like that. I mean, the moon doesn't rotate; it does revolve, but the same face is always facing the Earth. That's why there's a dark side of the moon. And to my knowledge, I've looked for it. There's no pictures or anything from the dark side of the moon. I would like to know what's over there.
Yeah. But yet we're taking,
yeah.
But yet we got a remote control helicopter on Mars, but we can't take pictures of the dark side of the moon.
Right, exactly. And the freaking Hubble telescope. Well, can't we turn that thing to the dark side of the moon for a minute?
And ghetto's on it too, from ancient Swahili to ancient Egypt, ancient Americas even. The book of Job speaks of the earth before the moon.
Where in the book of Job?
I have heard that it's in the Bible.
Ghetto without backing it up. No. I want chapter and verse.
I have heard that it's in the Bible before there was a moon, before the moon existed. So I mean, the odds, it doesn't add up. I mean, why are we going to Mars? Why do we even want to go to Mars? We can't live there. Let's fix this planet. Don't tell me how you're going to terraform Mars. Fix this one. And why would you not already have a base set up on the moon to test out your gear and your equipment?
Oh yeah. I now that's something I will say I believe in, that there are military bases already on the moon. I believe that. That's why China and Russia is trying to get up there and get them one up there. But one thing about the flat Earth theory that you can't just explain away is how our magnetosphere works on the Earth, because of the rotation of the Earth around its metallic core.
Yeah,
that's what creates our magnetic field around the Earth, which is very important.
Yeah, and then you're talking about
flat Earth.
And then you're talking about the Van Allen belts, and you're talking about astrophysicists and astronauts that have flat out said there's no way we could travel human beings past the Van Allen belts. They would like die. But yet we sent them up there in the 60s in a
explain why compasses always point to north.
If wrapped in aluminum. Yeah,
there's a lot of things you can't just explain away by science. But that's why I want to talk to someone about it.
That to me, that part makes sense. If it wasn't flat, but like concave or convex, to where there was a higher point in the middle and this was north, and there was that's where the magnetism.
No, I would accept that. I don't think the Earth's perfectly round. I think it's more of an oblong shape. I really do, but I don't think
it's wider at the I mean as well as I do. You got to adjust your compass. You got to take into account declination and the way the North Pole moves. That's why we're always updating our maps.
There's magnetic north and there's map north. Yeah, absolutely.
And depending on where you're at on the globe is where you set your declination. For your maps. But there's a lot of stuff, man. It's crazy. It's like I even had one guy. I was like, what the hell? He said, well, answer me this. I'm like, what? He goes, if the Earth's round, how come when you get a map, it's flat and the lines are perpendicular? And I went, well,
right.
I was like, let me get back to you on that.
Right.
Because if you look at the lines of longitude and latitude, if you're on a globe, they're going to be, the two they're going to touch eventually. Mm-hmm. So at what point does the map show curving?
Well, I will say this though: when you go to the North Pole or the South Pole, the compasses start acting wonky.
Oh yeah.
Because of what you just said, because the lines start to meet.
Yeah, but I'm saying on a paper.
Around Earth.
How do you take a 3D picture and put it on a flat map and give somebody a protractor and a compass and have them do land nav? If the further north you go, your grid lines are slowly disappearing. So how do they transition that to the map? Like I would like to see a map in Alaska. Like I would like to do land nav in Alaska on a military map.
I would too. God, man, I'd love for me and you and few other these hard dudes, maybe a bug out, and we all just go to freaking Alaska and do some real land nav. Dude,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Yeah. We better have we need medics and a backup rescue
Big
team.
Cat and freaking Mad Shad with us and do this thing.
I would like to see that.
If the Earth is 24,000, then every mile there would be 8 inches on the drop. Yeah, that's what I was talking about before. It's supposed to be an 8-inch drop per mile on the curvature. Now, granted, that would be if it's perfectly flat or perfectly round, like with no bumps, no hills, no mountains, no
I have
nothing.
a question though. I mean, about the whole flat Earth thing, because this is a recent development, right? Like within the last decade. So what is the theory? Like, why do people think if the Earth is flat, what is the reason for it being hidden from us?
I have no
the theory is the government knows this and they're just keeping it from us, and if so, why? What's the point?
I think it was a lot of people thinking the simple fact that back in history, we knew the Earth was flat. Then all of a sudden it was round. Why? How is it round? Because you can sail from here to there. But on a flat map, you can sail from here to there doing this. And that was their argument, that you're not going like this. You're just doing this.
Oh, okay.
And there are a lot of Christians who believe in that theory as well.
And the Norse god, Ragnarok. I mean, Ragnarok was a serpent that encircled the entire globe. And that's what kept the water of the oceans in. You know what I mean?
You're going to get Mad Shack started.
Like these legends, these stories from old have to come somewhere. Like even the most crazy fantasy stories are rooted in truth. There's something about it that actually happened, or there's a piece of it that's real. And then people just get crazy with other stuff. But I mean, that's just like, there's too many, like, honestly, it needs to be dug in deeper. I'm not saying that the Earth is flat. I'm not saying that the Earth is round. I'm saying I live on the Earth and I believe it's round. But what I'm saying is we don't have the whole truth. We don't have the whole truth to anything. Number one, if it was round and everything was the way it says it was, why the hell can't we go to Antarctica? Why is there a non-proliferation treaty? And why can't we just go there and hang out if we want to? We can go everywhere else on the planet.
Get a spaceship to where, man? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much stuff with these theories. It's like I just don't get like where they're coming from with this stuff.
That is hilarious. I like that one.
Like, I want to talk to someone who's real, who's been studying this stuff and really believes it. Like, I'm not to disparage them. I just want to know what you believe because it sounds interesting. And as a scientist, if you show me the evidence, I'm going to believe you. Like, I really am. If it's fact, I'll believe it, man. I'm not, like, I believe
it is
in real
interesting.
science.
Yeah.
Not what the left say, trust the science, not Fauci.
Because here's the thing, whether it's flat or round, your life's not going to change one single bit. So it's not like it's a contest to see who's right and who's wrong. It's just a theory. It's all it is. It's not, if I found out tomorrow that the Earth was in fact completely flat, if the government said, yep, it's flat, it's always been flat, I'm not sure why we lied to you. Somebody made that shit up when Christopher Columbus sailed around the world. We just let it roll because we don't want to freak people out. It's still not going to change your life. Nothing's going to change. You're still going to get them to go to work. You're still going to pay your bills. Everything's the same. It's not going to matter.
Brandon's still president.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing that will happen is just people will be fascinated and, want to learn about it,
And this is what Admiral Byrd, this is some of the stuff that he said. The wizard is obviously up on this, but he said he saw green grass, mountains, warm water, lakes, everything in Antarctica on the other side of the wall.
Oh, really?
That's the reason they named it high jump. That's the reason they named it high jump, because they had to scale several hundred feet of ice to get on flat land. It wasn't like there was a beach or anything. It was a legitimate ice wall. And there's pictures of it. Because that's the thing about Antarctica. Antarctica is technically a desert. A lot of people don't know that. Antarctica is a desert. It's classified as a desert because it really doesn't get hardly any rainfall, any snowfall. The problem is that what little bit of snowfall it does get never melts. It just never melts.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, and I've done a lot of research on it.
Yeah, it's a desert.
Like the whole flat Earth thing and Antarctica being an ice wall. It seems like the reason it seems so far fetched to me because it seems like it's something very hard to hide in our modern age.
Yeah,
I agree. There would have to be this would have to be the conspiracy. Like all the other stuff we touch on and talk about, they're nothing
Well,
compared to this.
if you've got if you've got 20 other nations that have signed the non-proliferation treaty, we can't get to the wall. We can't go over the wall and see what's on the other side, if there is something on the other side or not. That's what brings the question into mind. Then why are they not letting us go? It's dangerous. You'll freeze to death. You let us go to the fucking North Pole. You know?
Yeah. Right.
You know? I mean, everywhere else we're good to go. So it's not because it's not saying that I believe that it's that flat Earth and I believe there's stuff on the other side. There very well could be. I don't know any different. I'm just saying, why don't they let us find out? You know, why hasn't the Discovery Channel mounted an expedition? You know, they're always complaining that we've been everywhere on the planet. We don't have anywhere else to explore. Let's go to Mars. Screw that. Hop over the wall. Go see what's, in the middle of Antarctica. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's where I think it might have spawned from. Like I said, man, I think there's some stuff going down in Antarctica. I really believe that. You're talking about a super landmass that is supposed to be international, but I believe all the major governments that can and have the resources and money and power to get there, I think there's some stuff going down in Antarctica that we have no clue. Like Area 51, that's for tourists. I think the real stuff is going down in Antarctica. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the safest place to keep it. I mean, you can only survive there. You can survive there year round, but it takes a lot of money and a lot of resources. But yeah, there's something going on, like for real. There has to be. Otherwise, it wouldn't be off limits. I mean, if it was that freaking deadly, and if you're there for more than 2 hours, you're gonna die. Nobody would go anyway. But when you tell people they can't go, but you have bases there, that don't add up.
Right.
Like it's the most inhospitable place on the planet, and you want to go hang out there for 6 months at a time. Come on, man. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Now, Big Chat, that's something I agree with you on about the whole penguin thing. Oh, we're protecting the penguins. Man, screw you. You don't care about the penguins. You're hiding something.
I mean, they go into the science of it that's because the sky is crystal clear. There's no pollution, so they get really good telescope stuff, and they're getting really good readings from the ice cores, and they don't want it to get polluted and messed up. And that kind of makes sense from a science point of view, but no, not really. I mean, come on. I mean, it's not like, I mean, you've got satellites in space. Why do you need another one down here? They work better up there anyway.
Man, the chat's going off tonight, man. There's all
I know, right?
Chats going on inside the chat.
But I mean, like legitimately, I believe it could be flat. It could be a triangle. It could be round. I don't know. I haven't been there.
I mean, think about the number of people that have purportedly been to space.
Right?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Like satellites. How do we know that's really? There's a lot of credence to what they're saying.
Oh yeah.
From a scientific point of view, just being open-minded, there's a lot of credence to what flat earthers believe. Like I'm just saying, I haven't seen anything that makes me believe it's true.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way we are as humans. We have to see it, we have to touch it, we have to smell it to believe it's real. You know what I mean? It's like you can think, but to actually know in your heart and believe it, if you don't touch it, see it, or smell it, it's not the same. But I mean, it's like I was saying before, and you bring up a good point, Sita. It could square like the four corners. Remember, all through history, like say when Richard Wallace was dismembered and murdered in Scotland. I mean, the order of the king was to have his body quartered and have a part of his body sent to all four corners of the earth. And you've heard the word four corners of the earth your entire life. Mm-hmm. Why? If it's round, why would somebody say a corner? Because if you deliver something to the four corners of a globe, it's the same spot.
Right.
Like if you pick four directions and you're going to run into each other.
It's in the book of Revelation. It talks about the four corners of the earth.
So you think about that. It's like, wow, that's got credence to it. Where did that come from? Because if you knew you were on a globe, why would you say four corners of the earth? Because if you had four people standing back to back and they went north, south, east, and west, eventually they would run head first into each other on the opposite side of the globe. There would be no corners. So unless they were using the continents, as their earth, the four corners of Great Britain, or the four corners of Europe,
or the poles and the meridians along the equator. If that's what they're meaning, that could be four corners because you got the north and south pole. and then you got the meridian lines. I don't know. When you think about a sphere, though, a three-dimensional, you need 6 points of reference, really.
Right.
Like a cube.
Yeah. You need top, bottom, front, back, left, and right. But yeah, so I mean,
we just need to get an expedition together. We just need to get an expedition together and just go and try to circle the globe and figure this shit out, y'all.
Yep, we do.
That's what we need. We need to start a GoFundMe, raise the money, and just do it. Get a crew together of hard people from the prepping community to come with us to document.
Yeah.
I'm serious. You think I'm playing? I'll quit my job if we raise the money to do this.
For real.
We'll go.
Dude, there was a guy out west that took a GoPro, mounted it on a homemade rocket, and shot this thing straight in the air. And he's got a GoPro on it. You're hauling ass. I mean, so you're seeing it live, and then it hits the dome. Boom. I mean, loud. Bam. And just starts falling back to earth. I mean, there's been people that put up like some crazy video feeds. They'll get these massive balloons and put a GoPro to it and send it up several thousand feet trying to find the curvature of the earth. And then, of course, they blame all the curvature of the earth on the fisheye lenses that NASA uses. And it's like the Red Bull dude that jumped out of the balloon, you know, and broke the speed, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at that video, you can actually see the perspective of the horizon change a couple times. Like the curve increases and decreases. So you can tell it was a fisheye lens. But fisheye lenses are good for getting a wide view of, you know, the entire area. But yeah, it's like the perspective changes. And then you see videos, bro, these are the funny ones, man. These are the ones I want somebody to debunk, where they've got the astronauts supposedly in space working on the outside of the space station, and a bubble goes floating past them. They're underwater in the train. You haven't seen those videos, dude? Oh my God, bro, there's a bunch of them. They're doing it'll be like a feed of the astronauts working on the outside of the space station, and they're doing their thing and they're doing their tools, and all of a sudden bubbles will float through the water behind them, and they're saying that they're at the training facility underwater in the pool at NASA.
I need links on that one.
And there was one video where it showed a rat outside the space station running along the outside of the
what?
Yeah, a rat. Now it could have been rigged. It could have been fixed. It could have been rigged. It could have been fixed. I don't know. But yeah, it showed a rat, like a mouse, pops up and looks around and runs around the outside of the space station.
That's crazy.
I love it, Ghost. It's like you read my mind. And Native's going to have some homework to do.
I am.
But it's funny, man. You see like the bubbles, like just shows that they're like underwater. And we know they have an underwater training facility. They have a huge underwater mock-up of the space station where they practice. But now the video is being released. They're saying, oh, this video was released saying they were in space, but they were actually underwater in the training facility. Yeah, they probably were underwater in the training facility, and that was a training video, and somebody took it, and they're now trying to pretend that they're supposedly in space. But, you know, it's like somebody added the space to the background because there was, you know, blackness behind them and, you know, the whole 9 yards, which kind of really made you think, but it's a hoax. I believe it was a hoax.
I mean,
I believe.
You don't think we went to the moon?
No, I don't think we went to the moon.
You don't? Why not? Because
of the Van Allen radiation belts, man. There's been actual ex-astronauts and astrophysicists that worked for NASA that said flat out on live TV, we can't cross the Van Allen radiation belts. We don't have radiation shielding strong enough yet. But yet we sent astronauts to the moon wrapped in aluminum foil in the 1960s. I don't know. Man, dude, here's the thing. If we'd been to the moon, we'd still be on the moon. If we had been to the moon, we would have a base there right now. Look at all the scientific discoveries we can be doing on the moon in reduced gravity. I mean, are you kidding? That would be the best base to have.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know, man. I've never heard of that.
I mean,
before,
I don't know for sure we have. I don't think.
In the 60s, like when Kennedy was trying to get us to the moon, and the Russians were racing us to the moon, and we had to get there first. So did they have a treaty with each other just to fake all this shit? Because do you really believe the Russians would admit that we made it there first? Or was it all just a big hoax, a global hoax all the way back into the 60s?
I mean, look at how media is
like there's a lot of stuff we have to negate.
Oh yeah, but look at how media is doing us right now. We can't get the truth right now. They had to have started. They had to have started sometime. Mm-hmm. You know,
you don't believe Walter Cronkite was a good dude?
I love Walter Cronkite. He almost cried on that. He almost cried when he was announcing the moon landing. I mean, I think it was cool.
I wasn't alive, but
here's my thing. Like I won't say I don't believe we've been to the moon. what I will say, I'm gonna re-edit. I'm gonna backstep. I want to believe we've been to the moon. My issue is, why aren't we there right now? Why are we sending helicopters to Mars and doing all this crazy shit when the moon is right there? And their excuse was, we don't have the technology to do it anymore. We lost it. You lost the tech. You lost the toaster that powered the, I mean, come on, man. But yeah, I mean, logic dictates any kind of space testing, any kind of practice you're doing. It would legitimately be cheaper to build a base on Mars, on the moon, and send people there than it is to operate the United States, the space station.
I agree.
It would be cheaper because it's a fixed location. It's not going anywhere.
Why don't we have a base on the moon? I have wondered that for a long time. You know, I really have. What, like Space Force? Why don't they have a freaking base on the moon? They're Space Force, man. They should be on the moon.
I'm glad you brought that up. Back to the Stargate thing about all this happening right now. Wouldn't that be a great a lead into? That's why we need Space Force, because we're already out there.
Hell yeah, it would be. Like I've always, like when Trump did that and everyone was making fun of him, I always said, "What a great idea! Why haven't we always had a Space Force?"
What if we already have one? What if we've already had one for years, and this is a way of bringing it to light and getting? What if this is a way of getting more money into the budget to fund all the crazy stuff they got coming up?
Did you see Space Force logo?
Yeah, Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious.
Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, but it makes sense, man. I mean, I would like to say, honestly, here's the thing. I think either we can't get past the Van Allen radiation belts and we've never been to the moon, or what I think is more likely is we made it to the moon and we were told, don't come back. And that interview has leaked out as well, that we found some shit up there we weren't supposed to find, and we were told to get the hell out the playground.
Yeah, I heard that one too.
And that one actually legitimately makes more sense to me, that we were told to leave.
I would actually believe that, like, fit more than I would that we hadn't been there.
Because it doesn't make sense anyway either. You know, why are they going other places but not the moon?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think it's more feasible that we went there and we were told to get our shit and go home. Take your ball and go back to the house is what I think. Or we stumbled onto some stuff that was way beyond us and freaked out and said, nope, I'm out of here. You know? Because it just doesn't make any sense why we're not. Why when we sent the space shuttle up in orbit for, a week at a time, why didn't we just keep it going straight out to the moon, let it orbit the moon and fly back? I mean, come on, man. It's got enough fuel on it to do it. It's got, it's got enough fuel. I mean, if the little limb, the lander could do it, the space shuttle could do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
I will say this, conspiracy stories. My dad was a non-vet, and he said when they were supposedly walking on the moon, he was in the middle of one of the worst parts of Vietnam, and they said, "Oh man, we're on the moon," and he's like, him and his buddies all look like, "Who gives a shit, man? Look where we are." Who cares about that? Like,
distraction.
Yeah, and that's what the media does. Look at all the crap that's coming out now, just to distract us from what they're doing. Yeah,
definitely.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And I think that's another thing going on. That's another thing going on is there's so much contradictory stuff out there, but some of it is good. Like the theories of the round and flat earth, and it is, you just kind of keep it there. And because I've been in streams where they were talking about that as well, and they had some good points, like Oz was saying, but I can't fully embrace it because I can't prove I can't prove that either. So it's it's one of those things for me. I just keep it there in my mind.
I'll be right back.
Until
I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Y'all in charge.
We got this.
Until other things happen, something happens to validate more things. It just sits there in my mind. That's just how it works for me anyway.
I hear you. I mean, I feel that. Like the whole thing with conspiracies, man. Like the way they come against conspiracy theory is so hard. it gives more credence to the theory. Like the way they're trying to discredit flat Earth so much. If they wouldn't have pushed it so bad, I never would have paid attention to it. But the fact that the government's hardcore trying to discredit it and call them ignorant and stupid, it's like, let me look into this. Maybe they're on to something. Because whenever the government's against something, there's a reason for it. They don't science, true facts. They don't care about that at all. They've proven that time and time again. I mean, God, look at the freaking what's going on with Kyle Rittenhouse. The kid shouldn't even be on trial, man. But they got to push their narratives. They got to push their narratives. So the way they come against flat Earth so hard, I'm like, if there wasn't nothing to it, why would they spend so much time to discredit it? That's why I want to talk to someone who really knows about it.
Right. I'm not that that versed in it, but I have been in streams where they were talking about it and they had good points. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I would so fund that trip for you guys. Like seriously, that would be so awesome. Like that to see like someone to really go to Antarctica or
Yes.
try and make it there and do something. Show what you see.
I'm serious. Let's get an expedition together. Let's do something real on this YouTube community. I'm serious. I'll quit my job, and if we get it together, I'll go. I'm not kidding. I'll train for a year and get ready, and we'll go.
I'll drive.
I'm not even kidding. I'm a scientist. I'm an explorer. I'm an adventurer.
I'll drive.
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Go down. Let's do it.
I'm down. I'll drive. Hell yeah. I'm all about it.
I'm serious.
Here's a funny time travel thing I just thought of while I was relieving myself. I think it's really cool how in the Marvel movies, how Thor, they refer to the Bifrost as the Einstein-Rosen bridge.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because that's like a legitimate thing. That's Einstein-Rosen bridge, legitimate thing. And they included it in there as the Bifrost to make it legit.
Yeah.
I love the way movies legitimize their fantasy stuff and they bring it back to reality with something that actually exists. And Einstein-Rosen bridge is Albert Einstein's theory of wormhole travel, which is on paper. Yes, it can happen. Yeah. The problem is that it's so minute and it's so small because those particles disintegrate and disappear in a fraction of a second that you can't theoretically, at least yet, you don't have the power to keep the wormhole open long enough for anybody to go through it. And even if you had it open long enough, it's so microscopic that you can't really fit anything in it, which is like crazy, which goes back to Stargate, because they use the wormhole travel. And it's kind of funny how like all your different shows use a different type of faster than light speed or wormhole travel, where it's hyperspeed, hyperspace, warp drive, quantum this, all those things are actual terms that exist in real science, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's the neat part.
And the math on the theories is actually sound and solid. It's just that we just don't have the technology to get there. But the math and the science is solid on this stuff, man.
I mean, there's actually an equation. There are more than one equation. There's actual mathematical proofs on time travel. The problem is we can't. If we can get the acceleration, it's feasible. You can go forward in time. The problem is, at our rate of acceleration, it's all right. We can only put so much force into the act of acceleration. And that amount of force that we can maximize into acceleration right now, if in a vacuum of space, obviously it's going to increase and it's going to keep going. But by the time you reach maximum entropy with the speed to go into the future, you would be so old that it wouldn't matter. Like everybody on Earth would be dead, and you'd already be old.
Right.
It's that whole that flux. So, the only way we could do it is to go from 0 to bam, like really fast, like warp speed or
right.
that
plus the speed of light is a constant. Like you can't go faster than the speed of light.
Right.
And but because of that, what you just said, force equals mass times acceleration. So if you're going to go the speed of light, your mass has to be infinite.
Right. Your mass has to be infinite.
According to the math, So I think wormhole technology is the only way to get around that, though, because you're not traveling the speed of you're actually going through the fabric of space. Yeah, and that gets into like string theory and stuff. Now if you can we could do a whole show on that.
Yeah, like if you take Einstein's whole concept with the trampoline and the bowling ball in the middle, Well, if that
Right.
bowling ball, like the bowling ball weighs a certain weight, and that simulates gravity. Okay. Well, if it was constantly increasing, like constantly, it just kept getting worse. If it kept increasing nonstop, if it didn't have a finite amount to it, then there's no telling what you could do, because you're talking about not only warping space-time, but you're talking about slowing it down, stopping it. You could speed it up. You could go sideways. You know, they're basing it on a relative force of gravity. What if it wasn't relative? What if gravity? What if the force? And maybe that's the problem we're having with gravity right now. What if gravity? Because we're looking at gravity as a constant. Like in physics, gravity is a constant. It has a constant pull on the planet, and we base everything on science and on physics from Earth. It's like we use like our measurements of everything are from the Earth. Why? What makes us the center of the universe? Why are we basing science and distance on Earth? You know what I mean? So that right there, that's inherently flawed. That's inherently flawed from the beginning.
Like we keep coming back. I think gravity is the key.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, like we don't know how to unify gravity with other fundamental forces of the universe. But I had this thought a few years ago. We were talking about black holes and how they're gravity wells. What if black holes are what keeps because think if gravity was stronger, we wouldn't be able to walk. Like a lot of things in the universe wouldn't work if gravity was unified with the other fundamental forces of the universe. So what if these huge gravity wells, like there's a gigantic black hole in the middle of the Milky Way, and what if that gravity well is what keeps gravity in check? Like what if that's a part of how the fabric of our universe works? Is it sucking in all this gravity and it's holding the bulk of gravity in these holes? I mean, I don't know. It's just a
well, I mean, it would make sense. It would make sense in the law of energy conservation. None is created, none can be destroyed. But it would make sense. It would be almost like a vacuum pump. I mean, it's like when you siphon gas out of a hose, out of a gas tank. Once it's going, it goes. And you just siphon it back in. It's just like it's like my aquaponics system. It's a closed cycle. Like you don't have to add any water. It just keeps using it over and over and over. Yeah, it's draining at one end, but it's filling up at the other end. You know, see, that makes sense. But if gravity wasn't a constant, that's the thing. And to me, I think it's ridiculous that gravity was ever conceived to be a constant, because gravity is not the same on Earth as it is the moon. The moon's 1/6 of Earth's gravity. Look at what gravity is on Mars or Jupiter or Venus or Saturn or the sun. So why is gravity a constant? Because it's not a fucking constant. It's not constant here. If it was constant, I guess maybe it is if you look at it in terms of mass or the size of the planet. Because if the planet's twice the size of the Earth, then the gravity is going to be strongest at the center of the Earth. But so it doesn't. But then again, it's also got to do with what the crust is made up of, what the planet's made up of, and what the core of the planet is made up of. Because the gravity on the moon could be exactly the same as the gravity on Earth if the core of the moon was the same in comparison to the size, in ratio. If the core, the magnetic core was in ratio the same size as, like if for some reason they went out into the solar system and they figured out that the core of every single planet is exactly the same in ratio, it's 25% the size of the planet on every planet, then yes, I would say gravity is a constant. But it's not. It's not a constant. I mean, you can go to the moon and you can damn near jump, 100 foot in the air. You can't do that here. So gravity can't be constant. So and I think that's the basis. What you were saying, I think that's the problem with the whole. This whole concept
we don't understand gravity. I agree 100%. Man, someone mentioned this dude earlier in the chat, and he was on Joe Rogan's show, and he talks about UFOs a lot. I can't think of his name.
Oh, you talking? I just watched it the other night. You're talking about oh crap. Mr. Conspiracy. He goes into it.
Anyway,
Eddie,
he's a really smart dude. Man.
Is it Eddie something? No,
he's a really smart dude. Bob Lazar. Thank you, Millie.
Bob Lazar. There, I love him.
Oh yeah.
He was talking about this element, that the way it affects gravity.
Yeah, element 115.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Susanna. You're awesome.
Told you she knew what she was going on.
Oh yeah.
Susanna's all over it.
So, but he was talking about this element, and he's talking about the UFO stuff that's going on, and how it seems like they control gravity. And his theory is that they've mastered this element that affects gravity unlike anything else. And I was like, that makes sense to me. You know, that there would be an element that is
Yeah.
not affected by gravity, or that affects gravity in a different way that all other elements. I've always said this, man. We have no idea. Like, all the knowledge in the universe, we know less than 1% of it. We don't know anything on this planet.
And
I think
it goes back to the arrogance of the human being. I mean,
right.
Here we are. You've got gravity, a universal force. And how do we measure it? We measure it by our standard. And we try to transition that to understanding it for everybody. Gravity is not a constant. That's where the mistake's being made. It's different on every planet. Now, if you could say it this way, say if you're on a planet like, say, the moon, say if it was actually a planet that you could live on, and you had technology there that worked on your planet against gravity, and you brought it here. See what I'm saying? If you lived on now say if you were on a planet that had twice the gravity Earth does, your shoes would be constructed differently. Your clothes would be constructed differently. Your vehicles would operate differently. Combustion would work in a completely different way. And you just picked that machine up and brought it here. You're talking next level Star Wars type stuff.
Oh, for real, man. That freaking Bushido. What, uranium-238? Marvin the Mark.
The uranium-238 explosive space modulator.
Yeah, but that, to me, I mean, like you could legit, if you could get your hands on a lot of really powerful magnets, you could probably like really screw with gravity big time in your own area. Like, and I've thought about doing that, getting a bunch of big magnets, because like right now, people pay money to electricity for a ceiling fan in your house. Why? All you need is some ball bearings and a shaft and some magnets and some blades.
Right.
Like legitimately, and you could just arrange those magnets in a circle where the fan just rotates for free forever.
101.
And why can't you take that and put it in a car? Think about that, Native. I might actually do this. Get you like a little, like say a block of wood. You remember like when you're in the Cub Scouts, you had to make those little cars with the wheels and you race them down the rain gutter thing. Take one of those cars and put a small magnet in the front and a big magnet in the back with their polarities reversed. And I bet the damn thing would just roll until you picked it up. Because the magnet's pushing on the smaller magnet, it's going to push it away. And as long as that magnet doesn't weigh more than the car.
Yeah. Hey, this is for Sophia Bell.
Where was the kaboom? There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. Delays, delays, delays.
Marvin the Martian. Looney Tunes. Come on, y'all.
It has been so long.
Daily Nugget. Come on. Let's have some fun.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Entropy prevents a perpetual motion machine. Correct.
Absolutely.
But magnets don't suffer from that problem. If you had them perfectly balanced, you could literally make a ceiling fan that would probably run forever. The only problem is you have to figure out a way to govern it, because it may continually increase speed until it just comes apart.
I don't know, man. I think there's something we're missing, because Klingon's right. You can't get past entropy. Like, even the universe itself is going to die.
Like eventually magnetism wears
what
out.
What are we missing? Like your theory, it sounds like legit, but I'm like, what are we missing here? Because perpetual motion, she's right.
Well, but you're talking about the perpetual motion with energy machines, like free energy people trying to make.
Like all systems. Always,
I haven't seen now. Now you're going to have, like, gravity's going to wear on it, and so is friction going to wear on it. That's why you need some really smooth ball bearings. But why? I mean, you're doing it all the time. If you take a big magnet and push it to a small magnet, it's going to slide away. Entropy takes effect because it only slides so far, and then you have to move the magnet a little bit closer. But if they were in two circles, one on top of the other, one stationary and one on ball bearings, and the stationary one was the bigger magnets putting an excessive force down with the flow of gravity, where's the entropy? It would be friction. You'd have to wear the ball bearings out first, or does magnetism go away?
Like, why hasn't someone already done this? That's what I mean. Like
because they wouldn't make money selling fans over and over. Like, we could probably patent this shit tomorrow and make magnetic ceiling fans that just run forever.
Dude, do it.
I think I'm going to build one.
Do it, man.
I think I will.
Heck yeah.
And why is electromagnetism not what operates cars, vehicles? I mean, think about it. If you had a small magnet in the front and a big magnet in the back, and it was on a slide rail, and that was your gear shifter, where you moved the big magnet closer to the small magnet and it propelled the vehicle forward, and you could always pull it back. That's where electromagnetism comes into play, because then you can reduce the weight. You just slide it closer to the small magnet to go faster, and you slide it away to go slower. I need to get some magnets.
You do.
I mean, does magnetism go away over time? It's energy, so it has. I mean,
that's what I was just thinking. Like when you were talking about magnets, I mean, I don't think so. It's based on the polarity of the metal or the substance.
Like once you're magnetized, you're magnetized. Hey, wait a minute. This might defeat entropy, because equal and opposite forces, bigger magnet versus smaller magnet. So you're using energy, but you're not destroying it. Nothing's acting against it except gravity.
No, I mean, we're missing something here because of enthalpy and the second law of thermodynamics. What are we missing here? There's something missing with this idea, and it's bugging me.
There's an equal and opposite reaction. Mass is directly correlated to it, and the entropy. It's not like we're lighting a match and it's going to burn out. We're talking magnets,
right?
You know what I mean? So if you're pushing it in a straight line, you're going to have to keep moving the magnet to catch up to it. But if it's in a circle and they're arranged just correctly to where it starts in a spin, one magnet pushes it.
But like this idea is so simple. It sounds perfect. That's why I'm like, why hasn't someone already done this? I know you said because you can't make money, but I know there's a scientist out there who would have done this just to do it. Perpetual motion, that's like a Nobel Prize right there if you invent a perpetual motion machine. But if you did create a machine that negated the laws of entropy, it wouldn't just go forever. It would constantly speed up.
That's what I was saying. You would have to come up with a governor. But unless you space those magnets to where they, like say if you had two magnets, two big ones, and then a ring of magnets on the bottom. So the only time it got pushed was at opposite poles. And it pushes it just far enough to catch this magnet, which pushes it just far enough to catch that one. If you could cycle those things at the right way to where they have the exact same amount of force each time, there shouldn't be a drastic buildup. It shouldn't just like spin off the rails. Because, I mean, the magnet pushes at a maximum force when it's closest to it. So if you can offset, if you set it just for the maximum force.
But wouldn't you have to constantly change the polarity of the magnet? So you would have to put energy in it to do that.
I don't think so. I think if you had the big ones up top, the pushers, you know, pushing against the small ones, and say you had a perfect circle, you had two big magnets, and they're pushing. This one pushes just far enough to get it to here, and then that one pushes just far enough to get it to here. So they're constantly refreshing each other.
So the magnet in the middle, what's holding it? What's it spinning?
No magnet in the middle. There'd be a shaft in the middle, ball bearings. Okay. A ring around the bottom with magnets, and then a ring around the top with magnets, and they're pushing in one direction.
Okay. So we would still lose entropy. We would still lose momentum because of the friction of the ball bearings, even if they were the best ones in the world. Right.
That's why I said small magnets on the bottom, big magnets on the top. These are more powerful than the small ones, so they can overcome the friction of the ball bearings. Because if they were same, the ball bearings would wear it down. It probably wouldn't spin very good. But if you had more power at the top and you calibrated it where you just overcame friction, I bet it would work, man. I bet it would work.
Bushido had a good idea using spring energy.
Yeah. But I mean, if you could calibrate it to where you knew the force that this, and here's the thing, you could adjust it, the plate, that would be even better. Like if it was adjustable, where you could raise and lower it, where you're getting more force the closer he gets and less force when it comes to it, almost like a clutch.
Right.
So you can find the sweet spot.
All right, man. When you going to get started on this?
I need to.
You could probably order the magnets you need to do a scale model of it on Amazon.
Yeah. And the funny part is you could probably, if you went with big magnets on the big pushers and small ones, you could probably hook it up to an alternator or a generator and make some electricity at the same time. Probably not a lot, but you could do it.
I still feel like we're missing something. That's what I mean. Like it just feels like we're missing an aspect of this because
I mean, just look how much money they're putting into rail guns right now. I mean, I'm seeing videos of kids at home making rail guns at their house with magnets. Those things are freaking crazy.
I think they're the future of firearms. I
mean,
do.
I'm watching videos on YouTube of kids making rail guns at their house with magnets and marbles, and they're tearing shit up. I'm like, what? Because it doesn't just accelerate like from zero and slowly get to. It goes from get to gone. I mean, it's like what? Yeah,
without combustion too. That's what's awesome.
Mm-hmm. If you used a channel filled with mercury, it would just float on the mercury and negates the ball bearings. Ooh. Yeah, but then we got a health hazard with mercury because that shit ain't good for you.
I was about to say, we're all going to die from mercury poison.
I definitely have to pay somebody off at OSHA to give me a patent on that. Second law of thermodynamics is always the problem.
Mm-hmm. That's Stuart. Thank you. That's what we're missing. Like, I think your mechanism itself would be very efficient, but turning like through because air's still going to give resistance and it's going to slow it down. But also, if we're going to make like a fan or some kind of engine or something, it's going to have mass that it's going to have to turn too, and that's going to negate. So you'd have to you'd have to counterbalance against the weight that it's going to turn, and that's where we might run into problems because we wouldn't have magnets that had a polarity strong enough.
I think if we had large magnets at the top and smaller magnets on the bottom, because all you need to do is you need to have enough force to get motion. And if every time it spins, it finds this happy medium, and I don't know. I'm going to try it. Screw it. I just got to find out where I can get magnets at.
Yeah, man, that's a great experiment. You going to do a video on it?
Hell yeah, if it works.
Nah, even if it don't work, man, show us your process.
I know it has to work.
Real science is. Sometimes you're wrong.
Right. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you think about it, how can it not work? I mean, like, look at the principle. What was that toy? The fidget spinner. That was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you took a fidget spinner and that was your platform for the blades, you had the 3 blades coming off the edge, and you just barely touch it, and the thing just rock and rolls. If you had 3 blades off of the edge, magnets around the central part, and then the big magnets around the top, and you could raise and lower it to find that sweet spot, it would rock and roll. Like legit, it would legitimately just rock and roll. I don't see it's got to work. That's probably why I hadn't been patented it out in the public, is because you're only going to buy one, and you're not using electricity.
What if you do like create it and it's perfect, and you go to patent it, and the patent office is like, "There's been a patent on this for 50 years. You can't do this." Like the government owns it, and they've had this all along, and they're like,
they probably do.
They're like,
I mean, it's a simple concept, man. I mean, it's really a simple concept. I was laying in bed looking at the ceiling fan. I'm like, dude, I bet magnets can do that shit. You know?
Yeah. Kiddo, quit talking about the DeLorean. Man. We're sorry. We talked about the DeLorean.
And if you've done it right, bro. Oh my God. This is so crazy. If you've done it right, and you had the big magnets on top, the small ones on the bottom, and you found that sweet spot to where it just spun, and you incorporated a generator, then it would power the lights underneath the ceiling fan.
Made like a dynamo.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So I still think we're missing a major issue with this thing. That's why you need to do it so we can figure it out.
Okay. Well, you work on getting the trip to Antarctica figured out, and I'll work on the magnets.
I'm starting to GoFundMe, guys. We're going to Antarctica. We're going to prove that either flat Earth is real or it's not. One way or another. We might die trying.
You know what the messed up part is? Bro, we should really do this. This should go viral. We should ask for donations to go find out if the Earth is flat or round. And we should let everybody know we're going to Antarctica. And
I'm not playing.
Here's the thing. And then watch.
Let's do it.
And then watch what happens when we get to the coast of Antarctica. And you got like 13 different navies there telling us we can't go and telling us why we can't go.
Yeah, man. I'll live stream that shit. Let's do it.
Right. I'll go. Hell, I was at Fort Drum. I spent 3 years at Fort Drum. I can deal with Antarctica for a little while. Yeah, I bet we'd be shut down. We'd be shut down. We would be shut down. We can't be the first ones that had that idea.
We need to look at it from, both of us are vets. We need to look at it from a military unit point of view. A small strike team to go. Okay, me, you. We're gonna need people that are specialists in certain fields. We're
gonna need Susanna there for that voice of hers, so she can keep us motivated.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
It's not that cold. It's not that cold.
Yeah.
It's only -40. Quit being a little girl about it. Get up.
Isn't there a boat that goes there from South America somewhere?
Yeah, there's boats that go there year round. Yeah. Well, not year round. They go there in the summer. And then they'll go in the winter if it's like an emergency, if they can't get the planes in, because the planes can't fly in the middle of the winter.
I know. Ghetto said we touched on too much top secret shit. Our streams will get taken down.
I know, right? But I mean, yeah, there's so much stuff. Like people, like society gets pigeonholed into this thing. It's like your refrigerator, okay? You want to talk about the biggest energy ripoff in your house is your refrigerator. And I'm going to prove it to you, okay? Your refrigerator. All right, what does heat do? Heat rises. So why would you have a stand-up freezer where you open the door and you get the full profile versus a chest freezer when you open it? The only thing that's escaping the chest freezer is the hottest air in the freezer. That's why when you open a chest freezer, you don't get that blast of cold air. But if you open your freezer and your fridge, you get hit with all that cold air. And then the motor's got to run to get it cool again. And where do they put the motor in refrigerators in your house, people? On the fucking bottom. And heat rises.
You know what?
That's
you
why
know why
constantly running.
You know why that they have standing fridges? Because it's convenient. We're lazy. Because we don't because no one wants to rotate the stuff from the bottom of the chest freezer.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
We've all had chest freezers where there's like frozen shit on the bottom from
I got one now. But here's the thing. If you custom order a high efficiency freezer for, say, a DC freezer for, say, a camper or something like that, or some of those earth ships out west, those things are 3 times as thick. The walls are just massively thick, and the motor's on the top. So in a perfect world, if I had the cash, I'd just go into my kitchen and I would take the fucking motor out of my refrigerator completely out and sit it off to the side somewhere. Put it like 6 feet away. Just run all the tubing you need to your fridge. Now you've got a cooler that's going to keep your stuff cool. I mean, your refrigerator is legitimately designed to cost you money. And they have the nerve to put a sticker on how energy efficient it is on the outside. No, it's not. The motor's on the bottom. You're heating everything up. Wait, I mean, come on. It's stupid.
Well, I had an idea about digging an ice cave and creating your own permafrost, where you dig down deep enough into the ground underneath your house or wherever, and you make ice blocks, and you basically stack the ice blocks all the way to the ceiling, all the way around in there. And you guys have probably seen this when it snows and you roll up a big ice ball.
Yeah.
And you just sit it in the shade. It takes it months to melt. Imagine digging a hole that's completely insulated, never sees sunlight, and you have all these ice blocks big, huge ice blocks, and you build up the wall. That ice will stay there forever, and you can just cool stuff down. Make your own permafrost. What do you think? I'm really thinking about doing that here.
Yeah, the old refrigerators had the motor on top, and they were very, very efficient. There's no logical reason to put the motor on the bottom. It's the hottest part. Go put your hand on the outside of the refrigerator when it's running. It's hot. That transitions to the inside of the refrigerator. That's why it's always running.
I always wondered why it did that. Why? Yeah.
It's a reason. And they say they're energy efficient.
Yeah, I never fixed fridges either, so I didn't know how that worked.
Ridiculous to me. It's just so. But I mean, in our world, they want to make money on it. That's why nobody's invented a ceiling fan that runs forever, because you're only going to buy one.
Right. And
you don't have to pay electricity. You don't have to pay a bill. You know what I mean? So, yeah. That's probably why it's not out there. And yeah, the patent probably is already taken, but I think there's ways to design it differently to where you can overcome that. But then again, just because it's got a patent on it don't mean I can't build one and put it in my own house and give it to you guys for free. The plan's on YouTube.
And that's
You know
what I was
what I
about to say. Even if it is patented, man, put it on YouTube. Say, hey, look, they patented this. They've had this all this time, and they're not even telling us about it. But here's how you can make your own.
Yeah.
Fight.
But I mean, because the thing about it is magnets. Magnets are the one thing on the planet that completely screws with physics. It completely screws with the way things are supposed to work. Because a magnet, I mean, technically, that energy in a magnet, is it stored energy? Does it go away? Does it demagnetize after time? Or is it just always magnetized?
Magnets can lose their polarization, but I'm not sure. I don't remember how. But for the most part, it's like the electromagnetic force is constant. So once something's magnetized, like you said earlier, it's always magnetized unless something changes its polarity.
Because in my vision, a magnet is always radiating magnetism. So by putting another magnet to it, I'm not creating or I'm not doing anything to the energy. It's always there anyway. They're just acting against each other, and they're making a fan blade spin.
Right.
And now they are, if they're losing polarity, maybe it's got like a 10-year shelf life on the ceiling fan. That all the energy they're putting into the blade spinning, that's where the transfer of energy is. That would make sense scientifically.
I'll be honest, man. Like your theory sounds solid to me. It just feels like we're missing something. I'm telling you.
It's kind of like, well, if a magnet, if you look at a magnet as a battery, it's got a shelf life. It's going to expend energy a certain amount of time, then it's going to stop. And if that's the way you look at a magnet, then it makes sense. I could build it and it would work for, a year and a half, and then it's going to start spinning slower, and it's slowly going to lose power. And then I just switch out the magnets. But I mean, are you talking about a year and a half of free ceiling fan? Yeah, okay, that works. Especially in the summertime if the grid's down. I haven't
Googled this information about magnets yet. What y'all doing, chat?
I'm up here with two awesome scientists. I'm just a researcher. I'm taking it all in.
Whatever.
And we are actually two science teachers, by the way. That's actually a fact, which is kind of cool.
Formerly, I gave it.
Former,
couldn't take
it up. Those bastards.
The school system changed in the blink of an eye. Because I was a part of it for 10 years, and I had to get out, man, because of what was coming down the pipe. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was this crap that's in the schools now is what was changing, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, but
at least people are waking up to it, and it's starting to change.
Yeah, and see, Stuart, they're not. I'm not using electromagnets. They're just regular rare earth magnets, just magnets, plain old magnets. A battery. A magnet is an earth battery, if you ask me. It's energy, it's stored energy that it's force.
Right.
And if you can figure it out, the weight of the object that you want to move, i.e. the ceiling fan blades, and you have them on a low friction contact point like ball bearings or even fluid or ball bearings, and you offset that by the size of the magnets on top that are exerting the force, then it should rock and roll for quite a while. My only issue is it may continually increase speed and just keep spinning faster and faster and faster, so it rips it off the hinges. So I would have to have some way of finding a sweet spot or doing less magnets to where each one that it connects to gives it just enough energy to get to the following one, which is going to take some experimentation.
All right, I looked up. I mean, this is Google. It's curated information. Take it as you will. How long will a magnet stay magnetized? Let's see. Magnets will remain magnetized indefinitely. They experience a minuscule reduction in flux density over time, as long as their physical properties remain intact. It says neodymium magnets will likely lose less than 1% of their flux over 100 years.
Holy cow!
So there you go, man. You need to get some of those hardcore.
Somebody tell me why Elon Musk and all these cats aren't, instead of doing the solar route for their batteries, why aren't they doing the magnet route for batteries? Can you imagine a magnet powered battery that's recharged by the sun, or just a magnetized battery?
Maybe they're so rare, there's just not enough for them to mass produce it for their gadgets. And like you said, they want to make money.
Yeah. Okay, now I got to do it. This thing's been in my head for months. For months.
Do it, man. Do it. I want to see your experiments.
Yeah, I think it would work, man. Even if it only worked for a little while, it's something to improve upon. Like my only issue is that but it's not. So I'm not in a vacuum. So it's not going to be the force is going to keep increasing. The force is going to be equal, So, but if I just space the magnets correctly to where one magnet pushes it just enough to reach the next magnet, and it pushes it. But now is that extra force that it took to get there going to multiply each time? But then again, I could always put a brake on it or a regulator that when it speeds it, I could put an RPM governor on there to where it'll just spin at a certain speed. That's where the generator comes in. It'll power the light. Yeah.
I'm sorry. But Bushido told me to look at the Google veterans photo because the Marine's wearing a dress. I was trying to look at it. The hell is that?
Yeah, happy Veterans Day, brother.
You too, brother. You too, Bushido.
You too,
Yes,
Bushido.
Happy Veterans Day to all of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
So Teresa says magnets lose their at 700 degrees. I guess they lose energy or they lose magnetism.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm not going to rock it at 700 degrees, I hope. But I mean, think about how handy that would come in the summertime if the grid's down. If you got like this, ceiling fans in all your rooms and they're moving air. I mean, even if they're not moving fast, even if it's just like a steady, just whoop 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 to keep it flowing, keep the air moving. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. Might as well. Torque is increased. What we got here? Stewart says torque is increased in gearing, but the motor must create it first. Right. Yeah, it's just going to be, I want it to be free flowing, man. The bottom, the platform that the blades will be on it'll either be almost like a ball bearing platform or maybe a liquid. Ball bearings will probably work better. Low friction ball bearings. And,
Or what if you did, if you could figure it out so you weren't even using ball bearings, you were just using the magnetic field itself to spin it.
I thought about that at first. Where you put them but I would need like a machine shop to get. I mean, because your tolerances are going to be like really, really, like tight.
You have to be precise. You're going to need a micrometer.
Yeah. I would need like a severe machine shop and a CNC machine to even think about doing some shit like that.
Right. But you can start doing preliminary experiments, man, just to see.
Yeah, dude. If it works with ball bearings, it'll freaking work with some machine aluminum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like big time.
I know big chaps like warning you about talking about free energy. You're going to get Hillary Clinton or something.
Don't get schwacked.
Wow.
Yeah, that's got my gears going now. My brain's been stuck on time travel for a week. Now I got to get it back on magnets. Yeah. Big Tap's all about that mercury, man. I can't put the mercury up there, man. I'm talking like health code, OSHA, freaking, yeah. I won't be able to do the mercury.
Yeah. I mean, you could do it safely just for your experiments, just to see.
Yeah. I could bust open a few thermometers and,
you can find any left that's got mercury in them.
I know, right?
Yeah. You can order it.
Yeah. That's true. I don't know. I think, honestly, what got my brain going was those little toys, those fidget spinners, man, because you get that thing good and it just goes forever. And I'm like, wow. Now, if you put fan blades on there and did magnets, yeah, I got to try it.
No doubt.
Ghetto. I figured it out, Native. Y'all are Doc Brown, and I'm Marty McFly in this live stream. I just want to drive the DeLorean. Y'all want motherfuckers to build one.
Nah, you're not even that, man. We're Rick, and you're Morty.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Definitely.
Wow, we love you, Ghetto.
A little bit.
Ghetto's smarter than he lets on.
Dioria Apoptosis knows magnets on YouTube, but he's full of himself. I might have to check that out, John. No cool doubt. Picture, John.
Yeah, man. Are you a vet too, brother? Happy Veterans Day.
Definitely looks like it. Yeah, happy Vets Day. Damn, we've been keeping the chat at around 100 people for the last hour and a half. That's pretty hot.
Man, this is an interesting chat, man. We've covered all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to put y'all up on a book. If you guys are interested in these types of things, it's a book written by Michio Kaku. He's a Hawaiian dude. And the book is written for layman's, and it explains all these concepts we've been talking about and much more. If you guys are interested in getting into it, you all know me. I'll push books all the time, man. Prep knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, there are some interesting topics. That's why we just kind of wanted to just come out of left field and talk about something different tonight instead of, just kind of rehashing the same old stuff, kind of get a break, recharge your batteries, get geared up. Because it's just fun.
This was great.
Plus, it's just fun to talk about this stuff. You know what I mean? Because this stuff, everybody thinks about it. Everybody thinks about it. Time travel. There's nobody in this chat that hadn't said, man, I wish I could go back and do that over. You know what I mean?
You know what movie I was thinking about? The Langoliers.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh, yes. The freaking Valky from Perfect Strangers. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they'd redo that movie. Like that's like legitimately, dude. I still remember how to tie that knot that what's his face did when he tied up the dude, and he used I still remember how to make that knot. I've used it before working in the clubs when I had to seduce somebody. I've used that knot with a telephone cord. I've used it like for real. It works.
That's cool, man.
That was a cool movie. I like that movie. Y'all broke my brain. Y'all broke me.
Yeah, Native. I've been following Michio Kaku for quite a while now, and I think what got me started with him was the snowflake thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in the water. Yeah.
Super smart. He's a genius, but he breaks it down in terms that anyone can understand. There's a lot of YouTube videos if you guys want to look him up.
Hey, you guys. Roots just dropped Susanna's YouTube channel. So you guys, if you hadn't subbed to Susanna, you need to, because yes, she is as smart as she sounds.
No doubt.
It is fun, Ghetto, because that, like, especially in scientific topics, because science is different than any other discipline. It's not like history. History doesn't change. What happened happened. All you can do is talk about it and try not to repeat it in most cases. But with science, none of it's set in stone. None of it's fact. Everything can change. All you got to do is have an idea and be willing to push it forward, and you can change things. And you can, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson. He took Pluto from being a planet to not being a planet, and now he named it Plutoids, which is a whole new class of planets. But when I went to school, Pluto was a planet. We had 9 planets. Now we only have 8. You know what I mean? So nothing is permanent in science. Everything can change. Everything can change. Time travel, it can be real. Somebody just has to have that weird idea and a DeLorean and make it happen. And I firmly believe that we can go forward. But that's the problem. It's a concept of going forward. I think we can go forward in time, but I don't think we're moving through time. I think time's being pushed through us, because the only realization that you went forward in time is going to be the simple fact that you're older than everybody else. It's like the astronaut's brother. It was the same amount of relative time was passed, but when he came home, he was 6 minutes older, right. 6 seconds older. So what it'll be, you can go forward in time. It just means that you're going to, by the time you get back to the people that you love, you're like really, really fucking old or dead. You know what I mean? So it's like, time is relative. It's going to pass at the same rate for you, and it's going to pass at the same rate for them. But it's like it's instantly you're 50 years older. That's what it's going to feel like to them. But to you, it'll be like you will age that entire 50 years and you will feel every single day of it. But when you get back to them, it would have been like 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So it's a really weird concept. So it's, yes, you went forward in time, but technically time just got shoved up your butt. Like you aged 50 years. I mean, what you can't, because it's just you and time. There's nothing that you can when you get back to Earth, you can't tell anybody anything because you didn't see the Super Bowl, you didn't see the World Series because you weren't on the damn planet. You know what I mean? You were out in time getting 50 years older. It's like you instantly just aged 50 years to everybody around you.
Yeah.
Which is like a weird concept. It's like you can live an entire life and, you know, without being in contact with the people that you love or your friends or whatever. So it's like leaving home when you're 18 years old and not coming back till you're 60. You led an entire life. Your friends are still your friends, but they didn't age, only you did. It's like you left school to join the military and you were gone for 30 years and you came back and it was the day after you graduated. But you've got all this experience. That's what it would, to me, what it would feel like, which would be like complete lunacy. Like it would freak you out. Like, yeah, you're 50 years older, but you have no knowledge that you can share with me because it was 50 years out of just poof.
Have you seen that movie, Minutemen?
I don't think so.
It's a Disney movie, but it was pretty good, and it did touch on some actual concepts of time travel that were interesting. About it touched on the aspect of time travel that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's touching on entropy again. That when you travel back in time, you're traveling against entropy, and so it's in reverse, and it's super cold. Like it draws heat from you, so they had to wear like snowsuits and stuff to travel back in time. I was like, damn, that's an aspect of it I've never thought of. There's so many things to it. If we're really going to do time travel, like a lot of people are going to die trying it out first.
But it's like the thing, if you could go forward and backwards, then when you went forward, you would age rapidly, but when you went backward, you would de-age rapidly. But that concept just doesn't work because then what's the point? Why go? Basically, everything you learned, you forgot on the way back. So you went and you came back, but you don't know it. I mean, because if you're gonna de-age, if everything's going in reverse, that means you're gonna lose all the stuff that you figured out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, otherwise you're destroying. Otherwise, you're bringing in the energy, creating new energy, and losing energy. It's got to balance. If it doesn't balance, the whole thing gets thrown out of whack.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you can't introduce new energy to a time space. Like that energy that's there is always going to be the same amount. It's never going to change. It's going to change forms and bounce all around inside that bubble, but you're never going to get any more or any less energy. The moment it goes up one or down one, it destroys it. At least that's
Did you see Tenet?
Yeah.
What you thought? Like they cover that concept too with the reverse entropy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. With this concept, I mean, you can just pick a route and you can go and you can basically make shit up because there's no proof of anything. I mean, it's science, man. Like you can just basically make shit up. It's like as long as you've got your left shoe on your right foot and your right shoe on your left foot, and you're standing on one leg smiling, it'll work. That's what you have to do. It offsets all the craziness. You know what I mean? So it's like
you have to clench your butthole too.
Yeah, you definitely got to clench the sphincter. Yeah, so it's like all the concepts are there, and then you got the temporal stuff, and I mean, dude, Star Trek Enterprise, that was like one of my favorite Star Treks. Yes. Now, when they were doing the temporal Cold War and all those concepts, dude, I'm going, holy shit,
man! I'm gonna rewatch that. It's still on Netflix, I believe.
It is. I'm gonna rewatch it too. Like the temporal Cold War, that was my favorite part of it. But it's like, it was cool. Could you imagine? You have to have a military force to keep the timeline.
Yeah. And it wasn't even them. Like the people driving the Cold War were from another dimension who wanted to invade our dimension because they've already used up all the resources in their entire universe. I was like, wow, what a concept.
Yeah. So it's like, and here's the thing.
Entire universe used up.
And so now with the concept of time travel and the concept of the conservation of energy, that statement, used up all your resources, can't happen because energy cannot be destroyed. It's transitioned into something else. Right. So technically, you can't use up all your resources. You just had them change. They're moved into something else.
The theory is that our universe will eventually die because we'll experience like a heat death. Like everything will just completely cool down and the heat will just dissipate, into the universe. So,
well, once the sun goes supernova, but I mean, we're so close to the planet, we won't get cold. We're just going to get really, really hot and then get really, really gone.
Yeah, I'm just going to die. Right.
We're just going to get swallowed up. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's like the whole concept of it. I mean, if you look at the law of conservation of energy, if the law of conservation of energy is correct, and it is foundation, then you cannot use up your resources, because they're just changing. Energy is just turning into something else, whether it's kinetic or heat or whatever it is. It's changing into something else. It's not going anywhere. It's just putting on a different shirt. You just got to figure out how to reutilize that and bring it around full circle. It's like the aquaponics system. The only energy, like the aquaponics system, is a perfect energy-free system, except for the fact that I have to feed the fish.
Right.
I have to feed the fish. If I didn't have to feed the fish, it's a self-sustaining, complete ecosystem, but I got to feed the fish. You know, and that needs some sunlight, you know. But other than that, it's like awesome. And the same thing goes with energy in your time bubble, you know. Whatever you got in your bubble, that's what you got. Oh, we used up all the resources. No, you didn't. You just changed them. Now you got to figure out how to reuse them again and change them back into. I mean, imagine if there was a way. All right, we're burning fossil fuels, so we're creating all this heat energy and all this other stuff. Now, what people need to be concentrating on is a way to utilize the waste or the excess, or figure out how we use the new energy that's being the shift. We're not creating an energy, we're just moving it. So figure out how to use this part, and it'll change into something else. Then figure out how to use energy over here, it'll change into something else. Instead of just saying, oh, we use it, we're done. No, you're not done. It's still there. It's just different.
Right. Man.
I see they're talking about calendars down there. I'm going to be talking about some of that on my stream pretty soon.
Calendars?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but bug dude, the fish do eat the plants. But here's the thing: you're still putting energy into it, because you're having to plant the plants. You know what I mean? Like, you have to put something into it. If you just fed them the plants, it would work. But the problem is they're going to grow so slow. I mean, they need that additional protein. Now, if you've got a bug zapper over the top of it, like I did, you let the bugs get zapped and fall into water and the fish ate them. That works great, but I'm still putting energy into it because I had to plug up the bug zapper. So there's electricity, and and the pumps that run the water through it, that takes electricity. Not a lot, but it does take some. But it's as close to an enclosed ecosystem as I can think of doing.
Brother, I hate to get off here, man. I
2.5 hours.
Yeah, I still got to set up stuff for the morning show, and
Yeah, man.
I told the wife I wouldn't be on all night long, but I want to come back on with you, and I want to get maybe Big Chap, whoever we can schedule to do. I want to talk about flat Earth. I want to learn about it.
All right, cool.
I want to come on with you again.
I tell you what we'll do, because you and I both believe that the Earth is a globe. But what we could do, man, is we could have a stream, and we'll flip a coin, and we'll do like a debate. And you research one aspect of it, I'll research the other aspect, or we can have teams and we'll debate it. Like, even though I believe the Earth is round, if I lose, I have to prove that the Earth is flat. That way, it'll be a legit argument where it's just about the facts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Cool.
Thank you for having me on, man. This show was awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you too, Susanna. We appreciate you coming up here with all your knowledge and that voice.
Chat, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Man, the chat's been killing it tonight, man. I've been over here watching the chat the whole time, and chat's amazing. I love our community. Man. There's some
rocking all night.
People in this community. But y'all have a good night. Man.
All right, brother. We'll see you in the morning.
All right, brother.
All right.
I'll see you.
Native.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
In the chat, we are at the 2.5 hour mark, and I am getting kind of tired. I want to eat some supper and see what else is going on. Do you have anything else left for the chat, Susanna?
No, not really. I just wanted. Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to let everyone know that tomorrow evening in my stream, I will be talking about the Aztec and Mayan calendars as they relate to each other, and so I'll be talking about that.
And what time's your stream?
It would be 9 o'clock Mountain Time.
9 o'clock. So it'll be 7 o'clock here.
Let's see, 9 o'clock Mountain Time would be 10 o'clock. Is it Central or Pacific before Eastern?
Yeah,
so Eastern.
So if you're 9, it'll be 11. It'll be 11 out here where I'm at.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll definitely be there. For sure.
And if
For sure.
anyone can't make it, feel free to come in and later on and listen.
Cool. Well, thank you, Susanna, for hanging out with us. Thank you, Native, for hanging out. Thank you, everybody in the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, Roots. You did an awesome job tonight moderating. And thank you to the rest of the moderators, the members, and the subscribers. Tomorrow is Friday. What do I have for tomorrow? I forgot.
AI?
Oh, yeah, AI. Tomorrow's going to be a good one. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be good. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7:30. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence. Yeah. All right.
Excited for that too.
Yeah, I am. It's going to be a good one. So with that being said, we're going to call it quits for tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Ghost.
You're welcome, sweetheart. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.